radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio for the masses. Yeah, man. Today's Tuesday, October 6th, 2020. $280 days into the new year, only 86 days left. We are live from a bunker that is somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? Man, oh man, what a day. What a day. There's only one way to cap this day off, and that is tonight with our very special guest, Ron Keel. That's right, Ron is here. Ron is going to be joining us for the first time here on Fade to Black, and it's about time. We're going to talk The Rock. We're going to talk The Roll. We're going to talk UFOs. We're going to talk some Eddie Van Halen, of course. So there you go. Ron Keel at the bottom of the hour. Get ready for that, kiddies. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Really looking forward to this. Tomorrow night is our Twitter AMA, and in light of the events today, with the passing of Eddie Van Halen, I am inclined to just call this the EVH show tomorrow night. And, you know, it's my show. I can do what I want. I can do what I want. So just a thought. I'll throw it out there. You know what? I'll let you Fadernauts decide. All right? EVH show tomorrow. We replace AMA with EVH. Are you guys cool with that? I don't even need to ask, do I? So, just a thought. I'm throwing it out there. Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Okay. All right. All right. Let's get this stuff moving along. It's going to be an amazing night here on the show. And a couple of things I want to get out of the way as we announced yesterday, this Halloween, which is Halloween weekend, October 29th through November 1st, the Dark Zone invites you to spend a haunted weekend with the Queen. They have invited me to tag along, and I will be there in person, on board, on location, Friday night on the Queen Mary. I am going ghost hunting with all of you. So this is a full-on virtual event. They've got music, celebrities, the best paranormal teams in the United States. All you have to do is click on the banner over at jimmychurchradio.com or the links that we have throughout social media. Use that link and the promo code Jimmy, Jimmy. You're going to get yourself a special discount. And I know what you want to do. You want to hang out with me. You want to see me get the crap scared out of me. That's what you want. That's what you're expecting. In a weird way. I want it too. All right. All right. Everybody wants their own crystal skull. I've got them lined up here in the studio. Oh, actually, you can't see them with the camera because I moved over all of Eddie's guitars right here. I got the Bumblebee, I got the black and white, and I've got the Frankenstein. Got them all right here lined up. And next to them, crystal skulls. And you want your own crystal skull, go to EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Wonder if Ron Keel, I bet you Ron Keel has got a crystal skull. I bet he does. I bet Ron Keel has got a crystal skull. I'm going to ask him. I'm going to ask Ron. And get yours. EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com, promo code Jimmy, 10% off of your order today. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. There you go. Come and hang out with us. The sandbox is hashtag F2B. Hashtag F2BQ is Fade to Black questions. Hashtag F2BQ. Any questions for myself or Ron tonight, you can post it right there. All right, hashtag F2BQ. And let's get to the breaking news. Eddie Van Halen, the all-American guitar hero who absolutely redefined the sound and possibilities of the electric guitar, died today at the age of 65. And his family was there at his side in Santa Monica. And it caught all of us by surprise. And before I lose it, because I told myself I would not, so I'm not going to. The thing is, and I'm going to talk more about Eddie here in just a second, but I have never hid my affection and my appreciation for Eddie Van Halen. I've never hid that. I've worn it on my sleeve, and it's been that way for me throughout all of my adult life, going back to when I was probably 15 years old when I first heard Van Halen. One, just like everybody else. I'm not alone in this. Okay? So, yes, it was a sad day for the music community and for the world, and there you go. But I'll talk more about this in just a bit. And, of course, Ron Keel joins us at the bottom of the hour. Let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday to today, Elizabeth Shue. Elizabeth Shue is 57. Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3. Yeah, she replaced Marty McFly's girlfriend for Back to the Future 2 and 3. And, of course, she was great in Soap Dish. There you go. Happy birthday, Elizabeth. She was in the TV series The Boys, and I think that was on Amazon. REO Speedwagon's Kevin Cronin today is 69. Also, right before the show tonight, the breaking news was announced that Johnny Nash passed away today. I think it was at his home in Houston, 80 years old. And, of course, I Can See Clearly Now. And one of the things, his big number one hit, I knew this because of documentaries and things over the years, but Johnny Nash is the guy that signed Bob Marley and the Wailers. He started a record label in Jamaica and made that happen. Passed away today at 80 as well. On this day in history, 1981, Islamic extremists assassinate Anwar Sadat, the president of Egypt, as he reviews troops on the anniversary of the Yom Kippur War. Crazy, crazy video when you see how that went down. Fader fact. Okay, here we go. Fader fact. Ronnie Music Jr., that's his real name, Ronnie Music Jr., scratched a lottery ticket and won $3 million. That's a fact. But then later, he was sentenced to 21 years in prison after using his winnings to finance a meth trafficking ring. Oh, man. I almost want to follow that with Florida man scratched a lottery ticket. I don't know if he's from Florida, but it's a Florida man story right there. Tonight, very special guest. Singer Ron Keel joins us for the first time. We're going to be talking about both kinds of music, rock and roll. That's right. We do it all here. We're going to talk some paranormal, some UFOs, and of course, little Eddie Van Halen thrown in for good measure. And Eddie, if you're listening, man, you took us all by surprise, but we're going to be talking about you tonight. A little bit. It's Ron's night. See, it's just like Eddie, right? To come in and steal the show. Right? Oh, man. All right. I say that with affection. Come on. I kid. Not really. I kid. All right. Let me hit this River Moon coffee. I love all the Eddie Van Halen banners. The Van Halen Zippo. Oh, you know what? I'd have to go back home. Oh, I didn't wear my Eddie Van Halen shirt and my Eddie Van Halen shoes. Oh, Rita, that's your fault. Rita should have said, what you change your shirt. Wear your Eddie Van Halen striped shirt. It's small, but she could have said it. I could have worn it. And my Eddie Van Halen Vans. Oh, they match. They look like this guitar right here. This one. They look like this one. Have I worn that shirt on the air? I think I wore the shoes on the air, but maybe you didn't see them. But, man, I should have worn my Eddie Van Halen shirt. My Van Halen shirts. I got a whole Van Halen shirt collection. See, I was distraught today. I'm telling you guys. Telling you what. Rough day. All right, let me hit this River Moon coffee. Got all those vintage Van Halen shirts. And I'll wear it tomorrow for EVH night. I could change shirts during each commercial break, right? Do a set change. All right, I could do that. All right. Well, it's like this. So where were you when you got the news today? Where were you? October 6th, 2020. Now, I put all of these thoughts down earlier. So I am going to relay them as I laid it down. Because I made this comment. And the comment was, the real day that the music died. It seems a bit much now. But I meant it then. So there you go. Now, I remember where I was when I got the news about John Lennon. I remember exactly where I was when I got the news about Randy Rhoads. I remember exactly where I was when I heard about Dimebag Darrell. I know exactly where I was, David Bowie. I know exactly where I was with Prince. I think both those were when I was on the air, actually. But I remember those moments. And today, for me, well, I was on our patio with Rita. And I get a text from Wolf McCarran. We all know Wolf, great friend, great drummer, somebody I've known for 35 years, and just an amazing guy, great researcher, all of that stuff. But he texted me, and I get the text. And it says, Eddie Van Halen died. And it's one of those moments when you can't believe what you are seeing. Yeah, it was strange. The world kind of slows down, and then I read the text to Rita. She had the same reaction I did, which was, what? Now, of course, I could go on and on about the first time I heard Van Halen, the first concert. The first time that I met him, the rehearsals that I had the privilege to see, all that stuff. But we'll save all of that for a later date, probably tomorrow. I think we're going to do an EVH show, okay? But right now, in the now, I want to state the obvious. There are very few artists who have managed to change the music we listen to. Now, listen to my words closely so you understand. I'm talking about artists that are so significant, that have an impact so severe and dramatic that they change not only the music, but the musicians that are creating it. All of them. Every single one. Classical, country, it doesn't matter. Rap, heavy metal, it does not matter. Foreign, folk, acoustic, it doesn't matter. Classical, violinist, cellist, it doesn't matter. Every musician on this planet was affected by Eddie Van Halen. Every single one. And let me put it to you this way, okay? Very simply, there was music before Elvis, and then there was music after. He changed things. There was music before Led Zeppelin, and then there was music after. They changed things. Then came Van Halen. No matter what, Van Halen changed everything. Everything. The music changed. The clothes changed. Hairstyles changed. And I'm being very serious here. Okay, let me get my serious face back on. Guitars changed. And what I mean by that is Eddie Van Halen single-handedly changed the music industry. A new industry was created. The Floyd Rose Superstrat. I'm not making this up. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hanging here in the studio. And throw in the flame for good measure. I brought this in tonight to show to Ron Keel. Changed everything. The Floyd Rose Superstrat. Every guitar player not only wanted one, and when I say every guitar player on the planet. Not only did they want one, they got one. This change impacted everything and continues to this very day. It's been 40 years, and it's going to last another 42. The dramatic and direct influence of Eddie Van Halen was felt in every single music store on this planet, and there are no exceptions. Got a lump in my throat. The impact was insane. Didn't matter what country you were from, what language you spoke. It just didn't matter what town in America, what city in America, North and South America and Canada and Australia and China, Japan. The impact was insane. Now, and I'm saying this when I say there are no exceptions, there are none. But you have to ask yourself, how can somebody have this kind of respect? And the respect came quickly, virtually overnight. 1978, man. By 1979, it was a Eddie Van Halen world. Trust me, there were many great players back in the day when Eddie popped up. Oh, there was plenty of greats. Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, Richie Blackmore, everybody else, so many, right? The list is long. But the difference was that Eddie made playing fun. That's the difference. Van Halen was a happy band. They were a happy band. Happy. And Eddie showed us that you could have a good time playing. Shred a little bit and then laugh about it. How cool is that? That was the difference. He was just a good dude. Sometimes bands and musicians can take themselves too seriously, and that's fine. right? Intense records, technically perfect, and this and intensity in the band and stage shows playing live that are just intense, right? And they take themselves too seriously. And deep down inside, I think that most musicians would go and see Eddie play. And it doesn't matter if you're a country guy or a serious classical musician that plays in an orchestra. These musicians go and see Eddie play, and the way Van Halen would put on a show, or the way that they recorded their records, mistakes included, right? That's the thing. You know, they played live when they cut their records. And musicians would go, and it doesn't matter. You could be in a country band going, that's the way it should be. My country band needs to be like that. We need to have a good time. We need to get rid of this intensity. You know, I want to be like that. Why can't I be like that? Why can't my band be like that? And that's what Eddie gave us. And you don't, I'm going to say this in the kindest way that I can, but there are musicians out there that are popular that aren't really that cool. Okay? And I want to use a bad word or two, but I'm not going to do that. But they've got a reputation for just not being cool. Right? And that will always hold you back from respect. They may like your playing. They may appreciate the amount of practice that you put in and technically in your skills and everything else. But that's as far as the respect goes. Eddie showed us happy guitar. Technically brilliant, that forced us to go and try to learn these licks and watch it finish. Man, and we all did it, and we all went through it. That's what Eddie gave us. So tonight, we have Ron Keel on the show, okay? Very strange timing, for sure. And I get that. And although we'll probably talk a little Eddie, and we're going to go there, but more important, we'll get to talk about music. And as I sit here today and I think about Van Halen, my thoughts always go back to the Sunset Strip back in the early 80s. The clubs, the masses of people on the street, the Rainbow parking lot. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. It's crazy. It was a lot of fun, too. And then there were the bands. And ask anyone who was around in those days, and the names always get mentioned. It's the same list, right? It's Keel, it's Stryper, it's Vixen, it's Wasp, it's Hans Naughty, Doc and Great White, Black and Blue. I just said Black and Blue. Quiet Riot, Warrant and Poison and Guns N' Roses. They weren't even bands yet. But it was Van Halen, the California party band, that helped end disco and broke it all open for the success of the Sunset Strip. And for that, we are all thankful. And I mean it. I mean it. So tonight, it's going to be just like Eddie. Just like Eddie would do it. It's a happy time tonight. It's a happy time. It's the only way that we can do it. Tomorrow night, if you want to call into the show and make it all somber and things, I appreciate that. If you want to get it all out, you can, or you can tell happy stories too. It doesn't matter. I wanted to get this in. I've got just enough time to do it. What's this? When I was at Guitar Center in Hollywood, GC 110, Guitar Center in Hollywood, there was a gentleman there that is pretty well known. His name is Dave Weiderman, and Dave is now retired. I hope Dave is listening right now. Everybody knows Dave. But Dave was really, really close friends with the Van Halen brothers, all things Van Halen and stuff. But I'm in pro audio, and Dave trusted me to interface with these artists. But he comes down and he says, okay, Jimmy, Van Halen just moved into a rehearsal studio, and they are getting ready for the Balance Tour. I've got a list of gear here. I need you to take stuff down there for Eddie and the band and see what he likes and things, I said, all right. When? He's like, now. I had a pickup truck. I think that's why they picked me. Anyway, so this is the first night, and it was many, many, many nights that I had the privilege to do this. Too many to count. I don't remember them all. But, so, we load up my car with this gear, and it was all kinds of stuff. That part doesn't matter. This is what was crazy. I'm driving my pickup truck to Van Halen's friggin' rehearsal in North Hollywood. I can't believe it. I'm driving, got this address, and I drive to this gnarly part of the North Valley. Like, I don't even remember the streets, but it was like Vineland and Roscoe or something. Vineland and Sherman Way. And I'm pulling up, and it's a little gray building next to this airport. Whiteman Airport, not Van Nuys Airport. That's a story for another time. But in the middle of next door auto repair places and like a junkyard over here, and there's this building in the middle. And I pull up, I got the address, I'm looking at that. This has got to be the place. I see like 3 Porsches, a Lamborghini, a Ferrari. It's got to be the place, right? Next to the junkyard. I pull up, I walk in, and it's this tiny little rehearsal room like your band rehearsed in high school. Nothing more, nothing special. Nice PA, but it was, right? It was a dive. And I look on the stage, and little tiny stage, tiny. There's Alex, there's Michael Anthony, there's Eddie. Van Hagar wasn't there. And playing. I'm by myself. There's no sound guy. There's like nobody there. Rudy, his guitar tech, was putting strings on a guitar. I could see him. I wave. Right? I think Matty Bruck was there, too, as well. I stand in the back of this room and watch them jam without vocals for like 2 hours. Like this. Somebody pinch me. And then, they were seriously rehearsing without vocals. And I got to do that for like 6 months. And I cannot tell you how precious that memory is today. I've never shared that story on the air. I've never talked about it before, but it was really cool. And the nicest guys ever met. It was absolutely wonderful. So, rest in peace, Eddie Van Halen. You're a big part of my life, big part of everybody's life. Thank you for everything that you gave to us. With that, this is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Going to take a quick break because when I come back, the faster that I do this, the quicker we get to Ron Keel on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Ron Keel, as it should be, at Ron Keel, right there on Twitter. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRAradio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. This Halloween, the Dark Zone invites you to spend 4 haunted nights with the Queen, October 29th through November 1st. Virtually board the most famous ghost ship in the world. Get your boarding pass now because you'll get to join me, Jimmy Church, on Friday evening when I go ghost hunting. Live, when anything could happen and probably will. And here's the deal. For just $19.99, you get virtual access to the entire Queen Mary, 24-hour surveillance of the most haunted rooms, interaction with your favorite paranormal investigators, very special celebrity guests including Kane Hodder, that's Jason from Friday the 13th, and Chad Lindbergh of the TV series Supernatural. Musical guests including Filter and Beasto Blanco. There will be a costume contest and a Day of the Dead celebration. Halloween is not canceled. For your boarding pass and info, just click on the Dark Zone banner at jimmychurchradio.com and throughout our social media. When you click on that link, just use the promo code Jimmy for a special discount. That's right. You are invited to spend 4 nights of Halloween with the Queen.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, the planet. Tonight, Ron Keel joins us. Tomorrow night, I think we're going to interrupt our regularly scheduled program. We're going to do an EVH special tomorrow night. But tonight, it's Ron Keel. We're going to talk rock. We're going to talk the role, UFOs, conspiracy, paranormal, and what it's like to grow up to be the Metal Cowboy. Now, I'm going to say this out of respect to Ron. I could take the time to read his bio to you now, but that would take 30 minutes of the show away. But let me just say this. From the first Steeler album, Ron has grabbed everybody by the throat. And he has done this. He has gone everywhere from metal all the way through to country. And then his debut album that we all anticipated here in L.A., The Right to Rock, was produced by Gene Simmons. Millions of records sold. He has toured with Van Halen, Bon Jovi, Aerosmith, Motley Crue, Dio, Y&T, Queensryche. And he just recently went to Australia. He did the Monsters of Rock cruise as well, Helsinki, Finland. And then there was KEELFEST, and that really caught my attention, featuring Keel and the Ron Keel Band and Steeler. Now, we'll talk about all of that in a little bit, but also, in addition to being a front man, being the guy, Ron today is also a DJ. He's been doing that for a long time, and we'll talk about that tonight too as well. I want to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Ron Keel. Ron, good evening, my man. How you doing?
Good evening, Jimmy. It's an honor, a pleasure, a blast, and a thrill to join you on the show tonight. Greetings to all your listeners, all the Fader-nauts, all the Keelaholics out there. Let's rock this.
Did you just say Fader-naut?
Of course I did. I am one of them. I'm one of you. I'm one of you.
My man. Okay, well, to be officially inducted, we have to do the first-time guest disclaimer. And you've been waiting for this, so let's get it out of the way. Ron, it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. And where the conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, but we're going to end as friends. There you go.
Absolutely, man. I am in. I feel that way already. I know it's great to reconnect with you. I do not remember that first conversation we had 36 years ago in the Rainbow parking lot, but I remember every conversation we've had since, and I'm certainly looking forward to this one.
If anybody tells me, Ron, that they remember a conversation in the Rainbow parking lot from 1984, they're lying.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's just no way. I mean, how cool. We've got so much to talk about tonight. But one of the things that I try to instill in everybody was the sense of family that was the Sunset Strip back in the day. And unless you were there, you just don't get it. But how incredible. What did you have any idea that history was being made every single day, and what the future and how people would look back at that moment in time?
I don't think at that time, Jimmy, in the early 80s, when I moved to Los Angeles and became part of that Hollywood scene, I don't think anybody could have predicted the cultural revolution that would follow because of bands like Motley Crue and Quiet Riot, Rat, and all the rest of those great bands that we saw and heard that you've already mentioned on the show tonight. We didn't realize at the time. We just knew our time had come, and we thought it would last forever. But now looking back, it was a very special moment in time, and certainly very proud to have been a part of that cultural revolution that was the 80s Hollywood hard rock scene.
Yeah, and this is the thing. You can't, that moment was organic, right? You can't invent it. You can't force it. It's something that happens naturally. And you're just caught up in the moment, but you can't go and try to create this in another city or in another country and have the same thing unfold like it did back then on the Sunset Strip. It's impossible, right?
No, it was the perfect storm. And it was started in a lot of ways by our man, Edward Van Halen, who, as you mentioned, really created the template for everything that happened in the 80s. That record changed everybody's life, and I know we're going to talk about Eddie, and I'm excited to do that tonight. Very saddened by his passing, and very glad for the memories that he gave me. That very first memory of Van Halen, I spoke about this in my audiobook and in my autobiography. It was a day that changed everything. I went to school. I was a junior in high school, and we went to school that morning, and all of a sudden you're hearing people talking about, hey, did you hear this band, Van Halen? Did you hear about that? And then at lunch hour, everybody went out to the cars in the parking lot and played that Van Halen record in their cassette players, in the car stereos, in the parking lot of the high school. By the end of the day, everybody had a Van Halen logo written on their notebook, and we were all running with the devil. At that point, it changed everything for me and for rock and roll in its entirety. And I went on to literally, I heard that. And I said, well, because I was a guitar player, and I thought maybe I should just try singing. Because I'm never going to be able to do, like Spinal Tap, and just make a coffee table out of that thing. So that's really what spurred me to really focus on becoming a front man and a lead singer, was because there was no way I was ever going to compete with that. and I saw David Lee Roth and Van Halen in was 1980, August of 1980, in Nashville, Tennessee, at Municipal Auditorium. And there were two rock bands in Nashville in 1980. There was my band, Lust. It was kind of an AC/DC, Judas Priest, jeans and T-shirts. We didn't dress up or put on a show, but it was a great band. And then there was a band called Sniper. And they were the ones who were doing pyro and the light show and the big hair and the spandex and all that. And I thought, well, that's cool. I'd like to be in that band. I want to put on a show too. And I went to the Van Halen concert with their lead singer. His name was Bruce. And the two lead singers and the two competing rock bands in Nashville were friends. We went to that concert and saw Van Halen. We saw David Lee Roth, of course, doing what no other frontman had ever done at that point. And Bruce just, nope, I'm done. I quit. I can't compete with that. And I said, well, can I have your band? And he goes, yeah. And he really just bailed on being a frontman and being a singer. I took his band and renamed it Steeler. And the rest is history.
Now let's talk about this for a second. When you came to LA, I was a fan, but there was one element about you that I had a lot of respect for, and that was you were always backed by the best musicians possible. That's the one key thing. You had an eye and an ear for that. But take me through, and this is for Eddie. Eddie's going to laugh right now. Ron, I want you to laugh. How difficult was it to audition guitar players back in the day and find somebody that didn't sound like Eddie Van Halen?
Well, he certainly had created that finger-tapping style and the combination of loud, powerful, mean-sounding guitars with commercial rock songs that could be hits and not just trying to be heavy. That's one thing I always loved about Eddie was he was really a great songwriter. His rhythms, his sense of melody. He wasn't afraid to do commercial or pop style, Dance the Night Away and songs like that. And you would audition guitar players and they all had the tricks, but none of them had that heart, that spirit, that soul, that special it factor that Edward had. And that so few have had. Of course, Jakey Lee and George Lynch and people like that really set the bar high following in Eddie's footsteps. But it was very difficult until I found a young man by the name of Yngwie Malmsteen in Stockholm, Sweden, right before we recorded that first Steeler album in 1983. And I heard him, and it certainly didn't sound like Edward, but it sounded like somebody that was taking the instrument to a new level, like Edward had or like Hendrix had previously. So Yngwie became the lead guitar player in Steeler, recorded the album, which became the biggest selling independent heavy metal record of all time and really put both of our careers on the map.
Yeah, no question about that. And when so many other players were, and I was guilty of it too, okay? We all were. You couldn't help but be influenced by Eddie. But here comes Yngwie, right? And there was something, again, singular about him. How did that connection happen? I know the story's been told many times, but give me the Ron Keel version. How did that get hooked up?
Well, I've always been blessed, Jimmy, with having just great people, great musicians come into my life, and it's like a magnetic force. And I'm really proud of the fact that I've played with some of the world's greatest guitarists, including Yngwie. But that was I was looking for someone to do the record, and when you put in his cassette, he and Mike Varney had, I was sitting in his living room, Mike Varney, the president of Shrapnel Records, who is legendary in our business. And we listened to one cassette tape after the other. And obviously when you put on Yngwie's demo, there was something special there. He did something that nobody else could do. And we were very excited to bring him to America and create that record. Now, we did not feel the same way about musical direction, or we were different animals. We did not belong in the same zoo, but we made a great record together that's still a part of that history. Released in September of 1983. We just celebrated the 37th anniversary of that release. And of course, followed that with Mitch Perry, who became the guitar player after Yngwie left. Mitch Perry's gone on to play with Cher and Johnny Winter and Michael Schenker. And dear friend, Mitch did the Steeler reunion last year at KEELFEST, which you just mentioned. Yngwie didn't show up, but Mitch sure did. So glad for that. Glad for the opportunity, and that got both of our careers kickstarted. And I realized I wanted to preface this, but you did a great job hyping me at the top of the segment. because I know many of your listeners probably don't know who I am, and many of them may not be familiar with my history because you've got such a huge listener base. And I equate it to, I sold 3 million records. And what that really means is that billions of people don't know who I am or don't like what I do. So I keep that in perspective and realize that a great band, even if you sell a few million records, that doesn't make you an automatic household name. And I appreciate you having me on the show to meet a whole new audience of people that think and feel a lot of the same things that I think and feel, because as I mentioned to you in our previous conversations, I've been a fan of yours for a long time. As a songwriter, I listen to talk radio because I've always got a dozen songs bouncing around inside my head. I've gravitated to talk radio pretty much all my life, starting with Art Bell back in the day, sports radio, politics, and especially shows like yours, Fade to Black, Coast to Coast, Richard Surrett. I'm a huge fan of Richard's. And so I really enjoy those shows. And it's certainly an honor to be on your show and share my story and some great stories about the LA Sunset Strip and Edward Van Halen and all the other stuff that we're going to talk about tonight. So thanks again for having me on.
Yeah, Ron, I think you just brought up a very important point. I don't know what it is, but the creative mindset, whether you're a musician or a poet or an artist, a sculptor, a writer, that creative mindset is attracted to things unknown. It's gravitated, and it helps the creative process. And certainly the medium shows that, whether it's written into song or it's written into poetry or it's painted on a canvas. What is it about the creative mind that seeks out knowledge and wants to know about the paranormal and the supernatural and maybe make connection with a flying saucer one night? What's going on there?
Well, I think there's something about shows like yours and Coast and the whole entire, the paranormal is like an umbrella, like rock and roll is an umbrella. You can put a lot of stuff under that umbrella, but the paranormal is not only UFOs and ghosts, it's the search for the truth. And we all wonder where we came from and where is there life out there? Is there going to be disclosure? Our hidden history? Everybody wants to know the answers. Is there life after death? These are common themes and subjects that I think everyone is at least interested in. I am entertained by it and fascinated by it. There's certain aspects of the subject matter that I'm really intrigued in, and certain things that I, quote, believe. I should have a poster behind me that says, I want to believe, like Fox Mulder. Certain things that I do believe and certain things that I'm not sure about, but I do have an open mind, and I just want the truth like everybody else does.
Give me an example of interest.
Hidden history is probably my favorite topic. When you have guys on the show like Graham Hancock or Robert Schock or Scott Walter, those guys blow me away. Those are the rock stars, man. Those are my rock stars. You and Nori and that crowd, because it's obvious to me. I think we have proof that history is not what we've been taught. There is a lot more to it that people like Graham Hancock and Scott Walter in the modern day are bringing to light. And I am fascinated by that subject and by the fact that, we'll probably never know. I think eventually, obviously, we all think, Jimmy, that there will be some type of disclosure or there will be some type of first contact. If there's life out there, which we all believe there is, there will be some type of concrete evidence of that. But will we ever really know the truth about what happened 10,000, 100,000 years ago? I think that's what makes that aspect of the subject matter even more intriguing to me.
Now, and this is what's great. I think what you're intentionally doing right now, Ron, is you want the Fadernauts to light up Twitter. I like this guy.
I do. Actually, Jimmy, I am in my bunker here at my house. You can see me, but the fans and listeners can't. I'm in my bunker, and it's dark. And I've got Twitter right here to my left. All right, Twitter. Follow me at Ron Keel on Twitter. Twitter is right here, always to my left.
Oh, man.
And Gene Simmons, as you mentioned, Gene Simmons produced my first major label album, Jimmy, and he taught me a lot of very valuable lessons. One of them was only steal from the best. So I have taken a lot of my radio chops from guys like you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I've stolen enough from you over the years. So now it goes both ways. But you just dropped the right names and the right things and are saying the right things that you can't fake. This is stuff you can't telephone this information in. So when you listen to shows like this, like Fade to Black and others, do you also head off and do some research? Are you looking into, say, Egypt, or say Göbekli Tepe for me? Give it to me.
Göbekli Tepe, 13,000 years old, and only 5% has been excavated. That's as you say, it's a game changer, man. And I do enjoy reading books on the subject. I'm an avid reader. And like I said, I've got music in my head and in my heart full time, 24/7. My entertainment and my interests lie in the same areas that you and your listeners are discussing on a nightly basis. And I enjoy it, even if it's a subject that I might not necessarily buy into or believe. Conspiracies are a big deal to me. I know that they are life changers. I remember the day, and I was only 2 years old. I remember the day JFK was shot.
Mm-hmm.
After not researching and trying to, but I've listened and learned enough about that day to know that what happened was not what we've been told.
That's right.
9/11 as well. 9/11 was a big one. I had Mike Tramp from White Lion, good friend of mine. Tramp's been on my show 3 times, and he's fearless. He doesn't care if he's going to lose followers or friends. He'll speak his mind, and he's certainly been known to voice his feelings about 9/11. But those days, everything changed that day. Nothing's ever been the same, just like COVID-19 or 2020, as everybody likes to put all of the happenings this year into a bubble and say, oh, it's all 2020. Edward Van Halen passed away, COVID-19, the civil unrest, and all the other factors that have made 2020 what it is. Things will never be the same. Now, what they will end up being is up to all of us, but this year has been like one of those red letter days, like the day JFK was shot, the 9/11, and the day we heard that first Van Halen record, man. It changed everything that day, and nothing has ever been the same in rock and roll since Van Halen sprang onto the scene, and it gave birth to that. Like I said, I probably wouldn't have been a singer. I would have still been trying to play guitar like Ace Frehley and Steeler. My first band may never have happened if it weren't for that influence that Edward and Van Halen had on all of us in the late 70s and early 80s.
Did you ever anticipate, I don't think any of us did, but you personally, when you are interested in conspiracy theory or things that the crazy people talked about, right? There was another crowd, but you're listening and you're following along. But did you ever anticipate living that reality like we are today?
I did not. We can't anticipate those things, and you never know what tomorrow or next year will bring. Change is inevitable. Change is a part of evolution in life. And of course, we've all known that these things are possible. Pandemics are possible. An EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, is one of the scariest things that we can discuss on a show like this, because that's a real possibility, and it would send us all back to the Stone Age in a heartbeat. You can't anticipate things like that. You can't live in fear either. You can't live in fear of an EMP or, in my opinion, COVID-19 or anything else. I ride a motorcycle. I drive an RV across the wasteland in the middle of winter to get my gear to the next gig. I live dangerously enough as it is, so the fear of these things does not dominate my life or my existence. We're all on a one-day contract. As far as I'm concerned, tomorrow is not guaranteed to any of us. And I'll tell you a quick story before we go to break, Jimmy. This all changed for me when I was, I was 19 years old, living in Nashville, Tennessee. This is pre-Steeler. And I was in a band called Taboo. It was a punk funk rock. There was 3 black guys in the band that sang great Motown-style harmonies. I was a lead guitar player in that band. This is pre-Van Halen, by the way. I was the lead guitar player. And these guys taught me so much, and they brought me into the fold even though I was very young and very green. And the band leader, his name was Kevin, was 23 years old and a brilliant musician, super nice guy. And he died right in front of everyone one night in rehearsal at the age of 23. It was a cerebral hemorrhage and a brain hemorrhage and a heart attack at the same time. And the guy died right there on the B3 organ. And that was it, man. And he taught me that day, play this song, play every song like it could be your last, because you never know. So every day I'm going to live it up before I lay it down.
See, and not only is that kind of lesson important, right? I mean, obviously it is, but that is something that most people wouldn't know about you and how you live your life. You know, the Metal Cowboy and how you focus on today. I mean, you have to live your life that way. There isn't another choice, is there?
I believe that. You know, I treasure the past. The memories, the experiences that I've had have been an amazing ride, a dream come true for a kid that dropped out of high school and went on the road to be a rock star, and all of the amazing blessings that this life and this business have given me. I treasure the past and those experiences. I live for today, but I'm always working for tomorrow. I'm always planning like I'm going to be here, and I do still believe that the best is yet to come. I'm still hungry for it. I think that is the key to success, not only in music or rock and roll, but in life and other businesses. You have to be hungry. You have to really want to succeed, and you have to want to deliver a quality product and be good at what you do and be proud of your work and work hard until the clock stops. And then as Edward Van Halen has shown us today, you know, there may not be that Van Halen reunion that we were all hoping for, man. And we were all hoping for that, whether it was David or Sammy or both or whatever. We were all hoping that guy would be able to give us more. And sometimes it just doesn't work out that way, but certainly thankful for the opportunities and the experiences that we've all had.
Ron, we got to take a break. I want to do that right now. And when we come back, lots to talk about tonight. I want to talk about the time that you toured with Van Halen. I want to talk about your current band. I mentioned earlier, you've always managed to surround yourself with the very best. This band that you've got right now is smoking. I want to talk about all of that too as well. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Ron Keel on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, my name is Billy Carson, and I am a best-selling author and the founder of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Together with my team, we have built an all-new conscious streaming TV platform designed with every family member in mind. If you have ever wanted to travel the world and attend lectures and workshops from your favorite speakers but weren't able to, look no further. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. There are dozens of workshops and lectures from speakers you know and love. We have also included amazing categories to assure that your consciousness is entertained and elevating on a daily basis. Amazing interviews, ancient history, ascension knowledge, wisdom teachings, documentaries, conspiracies, mysteries, health and fitness, conscious cooking, meditations, finance, yoga, and so much more. To start your free trial on any mobile device or computer, surf to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4, ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Again, visit ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We are also Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Ron Keel. Yeah. Now, tomorrow night, I think we're going to have a little change in programming. We're going to do an EVH show instead of our Twitter AMA. And, yeah, let's hang out tomorrow night and tell some Van Halen stories. Tonight, it's Ron Keel. I'm going to get Ron to tell us a Van Halen story. Ron, you toured with Van Halen. And I don't know how many shows you did, but I want you to, the first time on that tour when you got to hang out with the band, did you guys get a chance to do that? And what was it like hanging out with Eddie?
Well, let me tell you about the day that I met Eddie first. And this was a pretty surreal experience. After growing up, and him being such a huge influence on me and my music and my career. Of course, Gene Simmons produced the original Van Halen demo that got them signed. So Gene and Eddie are very tight. And we were in the studio recording our Final Frontier album in 1985. And Gene always had guests dropping in, stopping by to say hello to Gene. It's Gene Simmons from KISS. And whenever anyone would stop by, like Ted Nugent or Joan Jett, we'd try and get them to play on the record. That way you get to say, guest appearance by. And Joan Jett actually did. She played on a song called Raised on Rock on that album when Joan stopped by the studio, and Gene invited her, and she was amazing, and she did a great guitar track on Raised on Rock. Well, he invites Eddie down to the studio, and this is a day that I'm doing lead vocals.
What studio was it, by the way?
Man, dude, I don't remember. It was one of those big LA studios that was...
Was it in LA or was it in North Hollywood?
I don't remember, Jimmy.
Okay.
I can see it in my mind's eye, but, I've been in a couple of studios.
That I believe.
My career.
That I believe.
I do not remember. We would have to work, when Gene was producing the albums, he would be on tour with KISS a lot of this time, and he'd go out for 2 or 3 or 4 days, and then when he'd get back to town, he'd say, I'm here for a day, let's get some tracking done. We'd go in, we'd find a studio and the engineer, and we'd get some tracking done. So we did move around from one studio to the next several times throughout those sessions, but one of those days he invited Edward in, and Eddie came in, super nice guy, just to meet him and hang and have to sing for him. I'm in the booth singing lead vocals, and they're on the other side of the glass is Gene Simmons and Edward Van Halen. At the time, I was not intimidated. Today, I'd probably be a little more apprehensive or nervous or whatever. But at the time, I was young and fearless, and I'm going to show these guys, right?
Right.
So when we took a break, he had a 6-pack of Schlitz malt liquor.
Right.
And he brought it into the big recording room where I was singing, and he just kind of sat down at the piano and started tinkling on the piano, and we're talking, and he's drinking and playing. And I said, man, Eddie, can I record this? Whatever you're doing, can I record it? And we'll put it on the record. Would you sing a background vocal? Would you play a little guitar lick or something? I just wanted Edward Van Halen's name to be in the credits for our new album. But Eddie was steadfast. It didn't matter how many Schlitz malt liquors he drank. He would not play on my record, unfortunately. But what an amazing memory. And we did not tour with Van Halen, but we did in one day. July 17th, 1986, the biggest show of my career, opening for Van Halen at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas, or is it Fort Worth? I know the Texans get bent when you mix those two up.
Yeah,
Dallas,
you don't want to
Fort
make
Worth.
that mistake. Yeah.
The Cotton Bowl with Van Halen, Dio, Loverboy, Crocus, Keel, and Bachman Turner Overdrive opened up for us that day. So what a surreal experience to be in front of. The official report now, I think, stands at 76,000 people. But at the time, I was told 86,000 in attendance that day. I know 800 people were hospitalized for heat exhaustion. It was, July in Texas. And the bass player from Loverboy passed out on stage, end of show. We got through our set, okay, and then got to experience Van Halen with Sammy Hagar, and I'm a huge Sammy fan as well. I'm not one of those guys who's on either side of the fence. I thought Sammy and David were both super iconic, life-changing frontmen, and I was hugely influenced by both of them. So those two experiences with Eddie really stand out, to actually sit there at the piano with him and talk and have a beer, and then to actually open up for them 8 years after that day in high school when I heard that first Van Halen album. 8 years later, I'm opening up for them at the Cotton Bowl in front of 70, 80,000 people. Who's counting? But it was an amazing day and an amazing memory.
It's surreal how the journey of life takes you down these roads, right? You can't look at the future and predict these things, but inevitably the universe is always talking to you, isn't it? I mean, it's just strange.
Absolutely. You've got to stay open to things like that. And I've always, I'm a control freak. I've always tried to maintain control of my life, my music, my career, my business, but I'm also not afraid to go with the flow. There's forces out there and powers that I don't comprehend or understand, but I know they're there. You might call it God or the spirit or destiny or fate or whatever you choose to believe. It's bigger than I can comprehend, but it's there, man. And it's in our lives every day and every moment. And I'm not afraid to take a big chance, to go with the flow, to, if an inspiration strikes me, whether it's moving, like we moved to L.A. in 1980 from Nashville, Tennessee, to, we had no idea that scene in Hollywood on the Sunset Strip was going to explode like it did. Nobody did, Jimmy. I'll tell you right now, the guys in Motley Crue and the guys in Rat and the guys in Quiet Riot, we were all in the same boat. And the record industry at the time, as you know, and you mentioned that they killed disco, the record industry at the time told us all that we were digging our own graves. Nobody's ever going to buy this. Nobody's ever going to play it on the radio. You guys are wasting your time. And they told it to Crue, Quiet Riot, Rat, Steeler, and we just kept on going because we saw what was going on in the streets, what the young people wanted to hear. This music is the music of the wild and the young, and that spirit was alive and well in 1980, 81, 82 on the Sunset Strip. So I couldn't predict that. I thought that there's a good chance that this British invasion that's happening overseas with bands like Def Leppard, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, it's exploding overseas. It could infect the U.S. And if it does, where is that going to happen? New York, maybe? L.A., it's certainly not going to happen in Nashville in 1980. So I was not only instinct told me you've got to get to L.A. Somehow you've got to get you and your band out to the West Coast. And also, to be honest with you, man, I was running from a woman, my first ex-wife, who that was a very difficult situation. I was married at 19, and we finally got my divorce papers the moment I got my divorce papers. I mean, the truck was loaded. The van was loaded. We're ready to go to L.A., but I can't go until I get the papers signed, all right? We got my divorce papers, got in the truck, headed west. I went as far west as I could possibly go to get away from that woman. I ended up on the Sunset Strip.
You think you're the only one with that story, Ron? Right?
Probably not.
No, probably not. And I wanted to ask you, because the vibrant scene that was going on then, going out onto the Sunset Strip, and again, if you weren't there, you just don't know, but from Gil Turner's to the Whiskey, right? that 4-block run with 5,000 people on the sidewalk, right? At 7 nights a week to support the bands. And I don't think most people cared who was playing, right? Every club had somebody there. And if you took the time, you could walk down Doheny and head down to the Troubadour and see what was going on down there. And part of that scene, a big part of it was Gina Zamparelli and the way that she believed in what was happening there. How did you meet Gina?
I met Gina just out and about in Hollywood, and she was an amazing person who did a lot for a lot of these bands in this industry. But Gina was the next level up promoter. She was booking a venue called Perkins Palace
in Pasadena,
big shows.
Yep.
And she booked us on the bill opening for Y&T and Quiet Riot in Pasadena. Now we had a big following in the outlying areas, such as Pasadena. Because when we went to Hollywood and Los Angeles, we were the Nashville guys. We were the country boys from Nashville, and we could not get a break. We could not crack that club scene and play gigs at the Whiskey or the Troubadour. It took a while. We went to the clubs in Pasadena, in Burbank, at HJ's on Lancashire Boulevard was the first gig we did there in Southern California. And we played in the outlying areas, Orange County, the Valley.
Did you ever play the Morgue?
I don't think so.
Okay, just a quick question. Okay, moving on.
And we built a following in the outlying areas because they wouldn't let us into Hollywood. They were taking care of their own people, like, Rat and Crew and Quiet Riot and Kevin Dubrow. And those guys got the good gigs. We couldn't get the good gigs. And finally, I banged on the door of the Whiskey every day for 8 months until the woman who booked the Whiskey, her name was Dee Dee.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people will know the rest of that story. But at that point, I had never met her. And she finally just got sick of me showing up, said, okay, just give him a gig. Put him on a Monday night or something, midnight on a Monday. And we did the Monday at midnight slot and put out our mailing list and our flyers and promoted. And all of our fans from Pasadena and the Valley and Orange County, they all converged upon the Whiskey on a Monday night. We packed the joint, and then that put us on the map. I ended up marrying her, by the way. She is the mother of my children. And my second ex-wife, that was the woman who I knocked on her door for 8 months straight and couldn't get a meeting or even an acknowledgement. She booked us, then she married me, and she's the mother of my children. And but then that marriage lasted 17 years, and so I don't know. I don't want to get off on that tangent, but it was tough to break into that scene, and it was local radio was huge for us at the time. Joe Benson at KLOS.
Yep.
We did one show, our first show in Southern California. Great story. At least it is for me anyway, because we had spent a ton of money. We got the truck and the crew and the lights and the pyro and the clothes and the lights and the PA and the big production. And we got our first gig in Southern California at a place called HJ's on Lancashire Boulevard. And we set up the whole production and we were ready to do our show. And there's one guy in the audience, just one guy sitting way in the back. And we did our gig, man. And that's the only way I know how to do it, full on. There's no holding back. There's no mailing it in. I did our gig the way with the pyro and the choreographed moves and the big hair and the screams and all that. And at the end of the show, I went out and met this guy. And I said, well, thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed the show. And he says, well, I'm Joe Benson from KLOS Radio, and I'm going to put you on the radio. And he took our demo and he put it on the local music show on KLOS. And all of a sudden, all of Southern California knew who Steeler was. And that, combined with that first whiskey gig, really put us on the map. And all of a sudden, we're Hollywood guys now. We weren't the Nashville cats anymore. We were right where we belonged.
I remember, I'll just share this story with you because it involves you. I met Gina through her dad, Mario, and he was a client of ours, and we were friends. But he was an artist, and he worked for Howard Hughes. And I wanted to talk art with him. I was an artist, and I wanted to talk art, but I had long hair. He wanted to talk rock and roll with me, and I could never figure. He was always trying to turn the camera, and he goes. So he comes in one day and he brings in a stack of flyers, Sunset Strip flyers, and he puts it down and he goes, what do you do, Jimmy? And I said, well, I'm an artist. He goes, no, what do you really do? I said, well, I play guitar. He's like, exactly. I want you to meet my daughter, Gina. This is what she does. And he puts down the stack of flyers, and the top flyer is Keel. Right? Right.
Wow.
And it's Perkins Palace, and I'm looking and I go, does she know Ron Keel? Right? I think she does. Well, okay, I'll meet Gina if she can introduce me to Ron Keel. That's a true story. That is straight up. And of course,
and she introduced us in the Rainbow parking lot.
Yeah.
And she was an amazing lady and just super nice. She saw something in me and something in the band and believed in us and gave us some amazing opportunities at Perkins Palace to headline a 1,700 capacity venue. This is not a club. This was a theater type venue. And the Wadsworth Theater also there in Los Angeles.
Wadsworth at UCLA. Yeah, that's right.
She gave us an opportunity to headline and sell out the Wadsworth Theater. And those big gigs, you take it to the next level. You're getting out of the clubs and the whiskey. Keel never played the whiskey until 2013. Keel, by the time I put Keel together, we were already headlining. We headlined Perkins Palace with our debut show. So we had 1,700 people. The whiskey only holds, 300-400 people. So
right.
We were already out of that level or that echelon by the time I had formed Keel out of the ashes of Steeler. And Gina believed in us, and she was always a huge supporter of mine. And I tried to reciprocate when she gave so much effort to keep Perkins Palace from being torn down. I joined her in that fight and was proud to do so, and did some radio with her. I know we had a radio interview together. 2014, I think, was the last time that we actually spoke, and the news of her passing was obviously very shocking. It's always heartbreaking when someone like that, so sweet and so young, passes away so early. But her memory certainly lives on with guys like you and me, and her legacy of what she did to that Southern California rock scene. She was a big part of that, and she's still a big part of our lives and our hearts, and I'm glad we could mention her on the show tonight.
Yeah, and I'm so with you on that. She helped so many careers. And the thing was about Gina, look in Twitter right now. Somebody just posted a picture of Gina.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, how cool is that? There she is.
That's awesome.
I'm going to just say this really quickly. She took things to a level of class, right? She was a classy person, and her shows, her flyers, the posters, the venues, she took rock and roll and made it respectable.
Yeah, she always did everything first rate.
First
from
rate.
The security and the insurance to the production and promotion, everything. And she was class, and she was a nice girl. She was not the kind of person you'd expect to meet in Hollywood in 1982, but I'm glad I met her and glad I knew her.
Yeah, regal, I think, is the right word. Right, regal.
Absolutely.
How did you? I just have to ask. How did you meet Rick Fox? How did that happen? No, see, the thing is, Rick, bass player here in L.A., Rick knew everybody. Right, that guy was a networker and continues to be. But how did you meet him?
I don't remember. I know Rick claims to remember, but I'm pretty sure it was at the Rainbow. And at the time, I was looking for a bass player for Steeler. And this guy just oozed rock star.
Mhm.
And you could tell that he was young, energetic, charismatic, magnetic, a great, and we're still really, really good friends to this day. Of course, Rick was part of KEELFEST last year when we put the band back together and did our first show in 33 years. Rick was right there on stage with me, and he's playing better now than he played back then. And I don't remember the exact story about how we met, but in my book, I tell the story, and Rick's always trying to correct me. We met at the Rainbow and had dinner, but I don't remember actually meeting him, but I know that we had the meeting where I offered him the gig at the Rainbow. But
Did he audition?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think I would. That's Rick, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think he got the gig just on the fact that he was obviously a rock star, and we thought alike. And it's just bass, man. I mean, it's anybody can play that, right? I mean, you don't have to audition. I don't think I've ever auditioned a bass player, Jimmy. Come on.
Let's light up Twitter tonight. Oh, man. Hey, look, a great bass player, that might be, and drummers, don't get offended. Guitar players are out there, but a good bass player, you find them, you keep them once you get them.
Absolutely, and that's why my bass player in Ron Keel Band has been with me for 22 years now. Gino Arce, he's like a brother to me. We've shared a lot of road and a lot of album experiences, and just one of my best friends of my life. He's also the bass player in Keel, when Keel is still active, doing 1 or 2 shows a year at some of these big festivals or events like the Monsters of Rock Cruise. But you're right. The bass is super important, man. That's the meat that holds the whole sandwich together. The drummer's got to keep the groove. The guitars and the vocals are screaming out front. But that bass player is the heart and soul of every style of music, not just rock, but country. And I don't mean to demean the position, but at the time, in that early 80s genre, that kind of stuff that I was doing, the songs that I was writing, I mean, they're 3-chord. The Right to Rock, you could play with your pinky. I mean, you could play the whole song with your one finger with your pinky. It's a very AC/DC-ish kind of riff. And just like AC/DC, who I'm a huge fan of, a huge influence on me, the bass player just does this. And the guitars ride the riff on top of that. Drummer keeps the groove. But the bass player, you can play the other strings if you want to, but you don't have to. Just ride that low A for me.
Send all your email to ron@ronkeel.com. But this is the thing. There are no unemployed bass players, right? There are no unemployed bass players. They know this. They've got one over on everybody in the band. They ain't getting fired, right? And they will always.
The Doors? The Doors had an unemployed bass player.
It was a big toe. That's a fact. I couldn't believe the first time I saw a Doors live, concert, and I'm like, oh, the rumors are true, right? Holy crap, Ray Manzarek was no joke, right?
Bass players don't come down too hard on me. I do appreciate the position, and it is extremely important. Rick was very important to Steeler, just as Yngwie Malmsteen. And I thought it was cool at the time because Malmsteen was the musical genius and Rick was the rock star. Very much like getting back to Van Halen again. All roads lead back to Van Halen because I always thought that combination of Edward's musical genius and David Lee Roth's rock star persona was a perfect match. Dave was vocally not on the level that Edward was as a musician, obviously, but he was a front man. He was a rock star. He was a spokesman and a symbol. And I always thought that was super important. And that's what I tried to achieve with that Steeler lineup. On my left, I've got the greatest guitar player in the world. And on my right, I've got the biggest rock star in Hollywood.
Oh, we left out the country club. How did you manage to do that? We just named out, and we left out the country club. Hey, you know what? And I want to talk about what's going on today musically for you. But the country club for me was like the place, right? It was out of the way. It's in Reseda. It wasn't on the Sunset Strip, but it was friggin' huge, had a great sound system. And when you pack that place, it was the place to be in all of Los Angeles, wasn't it?
It was the best venue to see one of those 80s rock shows. I think the capacity was about 800, but it looked bigger than that. A nice big open room. It felt like you were playing in an arena.
Yeah,
and
the
we
stage
did a
was
lot
huge.
of shows there.
Yeah, stage was
Huge
huge.
Stage.
Yeah.
A lot of great memories, both headlining and opening up for some of my heroes at the country club. And that was when you could graduate out of the troubadour and the whiskey, you would go play the country club, and the national acts, they could bring in bands that were touring, and you could either open for them, or we headlined, and sometimes headlined 2 shows there in one night. We did the Keel Christmas there every year, where we would do one show, and it was December 22nd or 23rd, usually a couple days before Christmas. We did a show and then clear the place out and pack it all over again. So you sell out 2 shows in one night, and an amazing venue. It was a very special time and place for rock and roll, and we all saw a lot of great bands at these venues that we're talking about, the Whiskey, the Perkins Palace, and the Country Club. And like I said, I'm very thankful to have been a part of that scene and to have all those memories and to have experienced that. It's amazing.
As a front man, I want to talk about singers and their personalities for a second. Guitar players are very competitive, and they don't actually hang out. Right? They like to say that they do, but they don't hang out with other guitar players. And it's just the way it is. Bass players will hang out with each other, by the way. Drummers will have a hardware conversation about kick drum pedals or some crazy cymbal mount for hours on end, right? There's a camaraderie there. Does the same thing happen with singers? Do you guys hang out, or is it competitive?
It certainly does now. You know, in the past couple of decades, some of my best friends in the world are some of these singers that we were peers and contemporaries back in the day. A guy like Paul Shortino, who sang with Rough Cut, Quiet Riot.
Yep.
Paul is one of my very best friends on the planet. At the time, Jack Russell, also a dear friend. At the time, back in the 80s, Jimmy, and you had mentioned this earlier, that it was like a family. And I never felt any of that. I'm glad you did. But it was extremely competitive. We were all competing for attendance, attention, all the girls, the party favors, the airplay. It was extremely the next record deal. Who's going to get the next record deal? And when somebody got a record deal, you didn't applaud them or cheer for them. Yeah, way to go, great white, rat kind of record deal. No, you were pissed. You were angry because
that's true.
You wanted that deal. You wanted that girl, and you wanted that sold out country club or Perkins Palace or whiskey gig. So it was very competitive back then. Now there is a fraternity of guys that survived anyway that are now really, really tight. And I'm glad to be a part of that fraternity and have these great friendships with guys. And I interview them on my radio show every week. And I've got these guys. It's just like being reunited with an old friend when we get on the mic like you and I are tonight.
Mm-hmm.
We're reliving the past and showcasing what we're doing today. And I do feel that back in the day, this was unheard of. 2 frontmen on the same tour sharing a room. When we toured with Quiet Riot, this was 87, right before the Bon Jovi tour. We toured with Quiet Riot, and they were a little bit, they were on the downside of things. Mental health had worn off, and it was their 3rd album, and they were not selling out the arenas, but it was an arena tour, and we were the opening act on that Quiet Riot tour. Kevin DuBrow and I were very close and ended up sharing a room on the tour. I would ride on Quiet Riot's tour bus, and Kevin and I shared a room. This is back in 87. And Kevin was a dear, dear friend of mine who was one of the greatest guys that ever held a mic in his hand and broke open those barriers for all of us. As you recall, it was Quiet Riot with Mental Health that really broke open the floodgates for bands like Motley Crue, Rat, and myself.
We were talking about synchronicities earlier, and when I came to L.A., one of the, through Gina, and I'm meeting, some of these people that I looked up to. Quiet Riot was one of the first bands that I had met back in the day, right? Well, anyway, I would have never guessed that later on, Rudy Sarzo and I, we had a studio for many years together in Sherman Oaks. that happened, I ended up recording Quiet Riot and doing things with the band. And I got to know Kevin DuBrow. And I saw a side when Kevin and you were his roommate, so you know exactly what I'm about to say. Kevin, away from a crowd of people, was one of the coolest, gentle people. I mean, the coolest. And I got to see that side of him. The other side that I saw with Kevin when he was around groups of people, he would let that affect him. And it was, and I just didn't get it because I saw both sides. Like, how could this be? But I guess for me, what I understood was I never knew what it was like to be in front of 100,000 people, to have that success, to have a chart-topping album, and what that does to you. The real Kevin DuBrow was on ice, man. I really like that guy a lot.
Absolutely, and not just to have that success, but to be the guy.
The guy.
The guy that made metal mainstream.
The guy.
I mean, that was him. And it certainly, after all he'd been through and how hard he'd worked and struggled, and maybe in the press you would see some of his commentary about he was speaking the truth and being himself, and it got taken wrong. The same thing happened to me, and I'm not sure if you're up against a break now or not, but
we blew past. I'm sorry, network. We blew past the break.
I've got my eye on the clock, and I'm going, he's going to have to cut me off here soon, right?
Oh, man. Can we save this story for when I come back so I can pay some bills? Let's do that right now. Ron Keel, that's what it's like to have a conversation on my couch right there. Thank you so much, Ron. Let's stay right there. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back. More with Ron Keel after this.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. This Halloween, the Dark Zone invites you to spend 4 haunted nights with the Queen, October 29th through November 1st. Virtually board the most famous ghost ship in the world. Get your boarding pass now because you'll get to join me, Jimmy Church, on Friday evening when I go ghost hunting. Live, when anything could happen and probably will. And here's the deal. For just $19.99, you get virtual access to the entire Queen Mary, 24-hour surveillance of the most haunted rooms, interaction with your favorite paranormal investigators, very special celebrity guests including Kane Hodder, that's Jason from Friday the 13th, and Chad Lindbergh of the TV series Supernatural. Musical guests including Filter and Beasto Blanco. There will be a costume contest and a Day of the Dead celebration. Halloween is not canceled. For your boarding pass and info, just click on the Dark Zone banner at jimmychurchradio.com and throughout our social media. When you click on that link, just use the promo code Jimmy for a special discount. That's right. You are invited to spend 4 nights of Halloween with the Queen.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
Telepath is a weekly digital newsletter filled with the latest paranormal news, trending topics, and fresh articles from some of the most popular critical thinkers in the community today. Stay informed on your favorite paranormal podcasts and live streaming talk shows. Interact with the Telepath and upload your paranormal story or pics. It could be featured in an upcoming edition. Sign up right now for the free Telepath newsletter at paranormal.radio. That's paranormal.radio.
Including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Ron Keel. And it's a rock and roll show tonight, and a little paranormal. We're going to get some UFOs in. Somebody just tweeted, Ron. It says, for me, this has been one of my favorite shows in a long time. Throwing some UFO stories with the rock and the metal, and it's going to be perfect. So, Ron, since it's a rock and roll show, I went out to the vault during the break, and I pulled this in just to show you. Is that tasty?
Oh, my.
Is that tasty?
I hope everybody's watching on the bunker cam.
Yeah, they are.
That.
Is that tasty?
That is, it's tasty, man.
That's tasty.
That is,
and you know what? You know what's funny? I never play it.
Yeah?
No, I look at it.
I'll play it.
Yeah, you mentioned Spinal Tap earlier, right? Don't even look at it.
Did it just fall over?
Yeah, it did.
No.
Onto a chair, so I'm okay.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't. It's too beautiful. I just look at it. Before the break, you started to tell us about being yourself.
Well, yeah, Kevin was vilified in the media during when Quiet Riot had not run their course, but it was after a couple of albums, and Kevin was not totally complimentary, or I don't remember the exact quote, but he was being himself. And I tried the same thing at that time, Jimmy, because everybody had a gimmick or a look or an image or some type of angle that set them apart from each other. And I thought, after The Right to Rock came out, which was a big record, produced by Gene Simmons, the fastest-selling debut album in A&M Records history, we sold 90,000 albums the first week, and all of a sudden, we're on, Circus Magazine and all over MTV. And throughout the course of that year and that experience, that Right to Rock tour, and I started to realize that people are listening, man. They're listening to the lyrics. And you can only sing about sex, drugs, and rock and roll so much. Gene was very much about sex, not so much the drugs, but the sex was a big topic with Gene Simmons' music, and he wanted that to be a big part of my subject matter. And we had really changed some lives with The Right to Rock, that song about freedom of expression, the right to be yourself and do what you want to do and fight the good fight, so to speak. So for our follow-up album, I wanted to sing about things that meant something to me, that I thought, if I can make a difference, if people are really listening, I want to write a song that's hopeful and positive about the future of mankind, that we will survive all the crap that the world is going through, and things will get better, much like Star Trek was a positive message. We're going to get rid of racism and everybody's going to get along and work together and explore the universe together. So I called that second album The Final Frontier. And that's what that song is about. That was our highest charting record in '86. Gene Simmons also produced that one, but he let me have free reign with the music and the lyrics on that record. And a very positive message. We'll face our destiny on the final frontier. And I thought it was just a great way to express what I really felt and what I really thought. And people didn't want that, man. They wanted the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And despite the success of that record charting as high as it did, the writing was already on the wall at the time. People didn't want the guy next door. I would, with the groupies and the debauchery that happened backstage, I became a father in 1984, and I had a baby girl at home, and I realized that some of these young ladies that were carousing backstage or at the hotel room afterward, I mean, they got a dad somewhere too, you know, and rather than take advantage of them, I started giving them $20 bills and calling a cab. And I would send I tell them, you don't want to do this. You're in the wrong place. This isn't for you. Here's $20. Let's get you a cab and get you home. And I was vilified in the media for being, the goody-goody guy next door, whatever. And I was trying to do something positive, both with my music and with my actions, and it backfired on me. Nowadays, I think we've come full circle, and people are way more accepting of people being real, people being yourself, and being able to express myself like you and I are just doing right here on the couch tonight, just having a conversation. I don't have to put on an act. It's not Halloween. It's not a character that I'm portraying anymore. It's just me being me. I'm much more comfortable doing that. And I think the audience, the fans and the listeners and the people that are still following me and enjoying my music and my shows relate to that and appreciate me because of it.
I remember this was a while ago, and your name came up in a conversation. This is 15 years ago or something. Your name comes up in a conversation, and somebody says, Ron's in Vegas. He's doing country, right? And I remember I went, you know what? That kind of makes some sense to me. And I was like, yeah, good for Ron. Tell me about that transition. Was it a natural thing? Was it something that you always wanted to do?
Well, I think it has to be somewhat natural. Anything good has to come from the heart. Country music especially, because it's all about the voice, the stories that you tell, that attitude. There's a lot of common ground with hard rock and metal. You're singing songs about drinking and chasing women still, right?
Right.
But you're singing songs about real life. And you got to realize, Jimmy, that we thought that 80s lifestyle was going to go on forever. Okay, we've made it. We're big time. I've got a beach house and 3 sports cars, and we thought it was going to go on forever. We're here. We've arrived, and nobody's ever going to pull the plug on this, right? Well, the 90s came around, and Nirvana and grunge really pulled the plug on us, so to speak. And all of a sudden, all of us guys like me and Warrant and Black and Blue and all those bands on that middle level, we were no longer the coolest guys in town. We were a laughingstock. And some of those guys had to go get day jobs, or some of them OD'd. I mean, it was a tough time. We got the rug pulled out from under us in a big way. And I'm sitting there with a beach house in Santa Monica that I can't afford. Now I've got a wife and kids. I've got sports cars, a Trans Am and a Corvette, of course. And I didn't have any tour. There's no tours. There's no record deal. It's all gone, man. What I have left is a story to tell and a guitar to tell it with. And I started writing songs, and it started to sound like country music. It started to sound like songs that, songs about being heartbroken or being broke or getting divorced or going to jail. Songs that you could play by yourself on an acoustic guitar and make somebody feel something, have a reaction. I had to play and perform and express myself somehow, so I would go into the little roadhouse bars there in Southern California, even when we were on tour as Keel, and selling out, arenas and touring with Bon Jovi at Madison Square Garden 3 nights in a row and things like that. I'd come off tour and I'd go into these little bars and I'd walk in with my acoustic guitar and say, "Hey, I'm Ronnie Lee from Tennessee. I just got into town. Can I play? I'll play for tips."
Shut up.
And they would let me play for tips. And it was a way, it was therapy for me. And it became something that I chose to sink myself into and immerse myself. Now, I grew up with country music. I was born in Georgia. And as you know, I made my start in Nashville, Tennessee in 1978, 79. So my dad was a country musician. My dad he played with Hank Sr. and Ernest Tubb and some of these country icons back in the 40s. So that music was always part of my upbringing. I grew up in a time when there was no prejudice against different styles of music. We heard the Eagles and Black Sabbath on the same radio station. So I very much was playing songs in the style of the Eagles. And then I ended up putting a band together, and we started playing in the lowest, seediest dives in Phoenix, Arizona, where I relocated to. I made a record in 1995 with these guys, and I didn't even tell the guys in the band. I was going by Ronnie Lee. I didn't even tell anyone my last name. The guys in my band had no idea of what I had accomplished or been through in my past. I wanted to reinvent myself in anonymity without the stigma of being the ex-rock star. So we did the album, which I'm extremely proud of to this day, and then we had the release party. And I pulled out all the stops. I called the local media, who all knew who Ron Keel was there in Phoenix, Arizona. Because I was a Phoenix product. The people from the TV station and the radio, they all came to this record release party, and I created a 15-minute video to introduce myself to my audience, who had been following me now for a year and a half in this bar called the Buffalo Chip Saloon in Cave Creek, Arizona. These people didn't know I was Ron Keel. The video comes up on all the screens with the pyro and the Gene Simmons and the Right to Rock, and I told my story. And that story, that video clip, ended up going to VH1 and MTV. Everybody's seen it. It became the highest rated Where Are They Now special in MTV VH1 history. And Dee Snider's narrating this thing going, Ron Keel's gone country. Well, man, it was an amazing experience for me. I was allowed to continue to express myself, stay creative, and get wild. And Jimmy, the 90s with country music and the Garth Brooks phenomenon and all that, the 90s was just as wild as the 80s were. So I got to relive it all over again. You've got packed houses of all these, hot girls dressed up in these cowboy boots and cowboy hats, and they're slugging Budweisers and line dancing. And it was absolutely just as wild as the 80s was, only it was a country scene, and I was able to make a living, write, create, express myself, and learn how to create songs that related to the common man. Not just songs that you could sing in an arena full of people with the smoke and the lights and the fists in the air, but songs that you could sit with an acoustic guitar and make somebody cry or make them yell or make them dance or make them feel something. So that was very liberating for me, but it still wasn't quite home. I was always just like metal in the 80s. You had to look a certain way. You had to act a certain way. You had to say things like Kevin Dubrow and Ron Keel would say things that people didn't accept. And I didn't want to be put in that same, the round peg in the square hole. I did not feel entirely country, not comfortable, not being able to say what I felt and what I thought inside. So I created 20 years ago what I call hard rock and southern country metal. It's a hybrid. Literally what I do now with the Ron Keel Band is it's got the electricity, the energy, the excitement, and the sexuality and all that of metal, but with country songs, country sensibilities, songs where every line of the lyric means something, where you've got great players orchestrating these parts, painting the picture with all kinds of different colors that you can do with country music that you can't do with rock. You can never have a fiddle solo, well, unless you're Kansas, I guess. But the pedal steel guitar, harmonica, the fiddle, the steel guitar, these instruments could color that picture in so many different ways. So I caught a lot of flack for it, but I was the first guy to do it. Of course, James Hetfield went on to do a Waylon Jennings tribute song on a Waylon tribute album. Bon Jovi's and Bret Michaels and everyone else's foray into country music is accepted. I was vilified because I was the first guy to do it. I broke that ground, and I'm very proud of that accomplishment. And a lot of those country songs that I wrote around the campfire in the early 90s ended up being big songs in television shows and movies. We farmed out a lot of that material to the X-Files, And I think one of the highest rated episodes of the X-Files is featuring one of my country songs. You open it, the Fox Mulder opens up the casket, and there's a vampire in the casket with headphones on listening to My Horse is a Harley, which is one of my country signature songs. So
That's right.
I had some success with that genre. And like I said, I was never completely at home there, but I learned a lot, and I've applied all of those experiences to what I'm doing now with the Ron Keel Band.
Yeah, when you're a music lover, and especially a rock and roll lover, and you go and really listen to good country rock, whatever, and you really listen to it, you can hear the spirit of it. And you know what? I listen to Rascal Flatts. Rascal Flatts is the Van Halen of country music. Listen to a Rascal Flatts song and just imagine David Lee Roth singing. It's kind of
I love him, man.
I love Rascal Flatts.
Travis Toy, the utility man for Rascal Flatts, he does all their dobro, steel guitar, all that stuff. He actually did all the dobro tracks on my Metal Cowboy album. So I have a, quote, member of Rascal Flatts on my solo album.
See, that's exactly what I'm saying right there. Let me ask you this before we get to the break. When you are writing a song or thinking about rock and roll, the rock and roll voice, is there a singer that you hear singing in your head besides Ron Keel?
Great question. And usually it's somebody a lot better than Ron Keel.
Who do you hear in your head?
That's a great question. I usually hear myself. To be honest with you, I'm always trying to put myself into the song. If I'm writing a song, especially, how am I going to sing this? How am I going to treat this? How am I going to sell it and bring it to life? So, but when you're writing for other artists, sometimes back in my Nashville days, we did that, and we're very close to having some songs cut by some major country stars. You would gear your song to Rascal Flatts. What would Rascal Flatts sing, and what are they releasing, or what are they looking for? And you try and write a song that would fit that.
Mm-hmm.
Actually had Travis Tritt put a hold on that song, My Horse is a Harley, that I just mentioned that was in the X-Files episode. Travis Tritt was set to record that. It didn't make the cut, but he was close to cutting that one. Had a song on hold for George Strait, obviously the king of country music, and he was going to record one of our songs and ended up doing a live album instead with all of his hits on it. So the timing wasn't right, but I was really close a couple times. And you're trying to write songs with those guys in mind. When I write songs now, I write with Ron Keel in mind. I want something that I can sing or that I can sell, and that mean a lot to me. Now, that doesn't mean that some of these songs couldn't be covered by another artist, especially songs like Just Like Tennessee, which is a country rock ballad off the Metal Cowboy album. And that video is available for exclusive viewing at patreon.com/Ron Keel. I got to get a plug for that in there.
Sure.
I make exclusive music videos for my Patreon page that aren't shown on YouTube or anywhere else. And that video was shot on location in New Mexico, and a great song. When we were cutting that song, it's the best song I've ever written, Jimmy, by the way. I'll send you a copy. The producer looks at me and says, "This might not be a hit song for you, but it's going to be a hit song for somebody." So I'm still waiting on that to happen. But no, I write with myself in mind, because I feel like there's probably a really good chance I'm the guy that's going to end up singing it anyway.
Yeah, sure. And I love approaching guitar players, and I've had so many on this show because I'm a guitar player, and asking them, who's the cat that you look up to? Who's the guy or gal that impresses you? And I'm going to ask you as a singer, what singer out there, the first one that pops in your head that just impresses the heck out of you?
Don Henley.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Don Henley. I mean, there's God, then there's Don Henley.
Right.
Love the guy and love his voice, and always have. Now, of course, you have to apply that to certain genres.
Okay, the heavy metal singer.
It's got to be Sammy. I mean, obviously, that Montrose album in 1973 was a game changer. This was the game changer for Edward Van Halen.
Sure was.
Like I said, all roads lead back to Van Halen. That Montrose album with Sammy on it, which was released in 73, way ahead of its time. And that was a metal record before metal was really in the mainstream or accepted or even recognized. And Sammy's voice on that album, and all his work up to this day has been probably my favorite voice vocally, just from a singing standpoint. I love what he always did. I love what he still does. For sheer vocal majesty, I think you have to go to Ronnie James Dio and Rob Halford both.
Sure.
Those guys are Mount Rushmore of rock and metal singers as far as I'm concerned. And for country music, it's got to be, if you don't go old school, I think you have to go with Garth. Garth changed everything. That was a game changer for a lot of us. And that was really the impetus for me making that decision to, okay, I'm going to do this, was seeing Garth Brooks at the Forum on New Year's Eve in 1992. And I went to see Garth, and he was out there screaming, running around, smashing guitars, putting on a big show, and singing songs that everybody in every seat in that arena felt. I realized, okay, I can do this. So Garth Brooks certainly had a huge influence on me. I got to interview Garth on my radio show. How cool was that? I've got that video clip, and me, the Metal Cowboy, walking up to Garth Brooks to interview him. He played 9 shows here in Sioux Falls a few years ago, and I asked for a press pass, and I got it. And it's like, wow, are you serious? I'm going to get to the press conference, and I'm going to get to shove a mic in Garth Brooks' face. And I'm dressed up like the Metal Cowboy. I got the hat and the do-rag and the leather on, and I'm all cowboyed out, right? And I shoved the mic into Garth's face, and I started talking a really intelligent, well-thought-out interview not scripted, but I knew what I wanted to say. And he looked at me and he raised his eyes, and he started talking about, I asked him about what was the influence of classic rock and arena rock on your music and how you translated that to country. And he started going into bands like Journey and the things that he listened to, KISS even. He's a huge KISS fan.
He's a rock and roller. People don't know that, Garth is rock, man. To the core. I would have asked him, what was it like to have 5 albums #1 on Billboard for 3 years? Right?
Well, it was like a dream come true, I'm sure. I just wanted to hit him musically because, that's where his heart really is. He's a brilliant businessman and performer, but it all revolves around the music. With a guy like me, everything that I do has to all stem from the music and the songs, whether it's my radio show or my book or my Patreon page and where I engage the fans and all the other stuff that I do, the interviews and appearances like this one. It's all because of the music. You can't lose sight of that. And the most successful guys in our business never have. Guys like Garth Brooks, Sammy Hagar, Ronnie James Dio never did. A huge influence on me and a good friend. I got to cover one of his songs on a recent Black Sabbath tribute album with Rudy Sarzo.
Yeah,
on
I
bass,
saw that. Yeah.
Vinny Appice on drums. I got to sing Die Young. There's a great music video for that on YouTube as well. So Ronnie was a huge influence on me and a good friend. He believed in us and took us on tour throughout Europe in '86. And obviously, when you go to the biggest and the best singers, you got to put Freddie Mercury into that mix as well. A guy whose diversity really influenced me and gave me the courage and the strength to do all styles of music, because Freddie was fearless. He didn't want to be any one particular. He didn't want to do Bohemian Rhapsody forever. He did Another One Bites the Dust and everything in between.
I've got 15 seconds, so I want the 2-word answer, 3 words. What went through your head the first time you heard Jeff Tate?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that ain't right.
That ain't right. I hate this guy.
Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Ron Keel. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk some UFOs. He doesn't know what's going on next. I got a surprise coming up. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal God on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to getthetea.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's getthetea.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from Rivermoon. Just click on the Rivermoon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend. Let's face it, you've always wanted to do a sky watch and see your first UFO. Today, it's easy. Just get your own HP7 3B Cobalt Jimmy Church Edition night vision goggles from Hoffman's Optics. This is the same U.S. military system that I use, featuring a Generation 3 blue phosphor image tube. That's right, it's blue, not black and green. This is the only blue system in the world, and it's waterproof, lightweight, combat-proven, simple to use, and ready to go. Hoffman's Optics help create night vision sky watches, and now you can see what everyone has been talking about each night from your own backyard. Just call 760-231-9929. That's 760-231-9929. You can click on the banners on our site or visit UFONightVisionGoggles.com. That's UFONightVisionGoggles.com. Go back, Lee Tepe.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRARadio.com.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com.
Telepath is a weekly digital newsletter filled with the latest paranormal news, trending topics, and fresh articles from some of the most popular critical thinkers in the community today. Stay informed on your favorite paranormal podcasts and live streaming talk shows. Interact with the Telepath and upload your paranormal story or pics. It could be featured in an upcoming edition. Sign up right now for the free Telepath newsletter at paranormal.radio. That's paranormal.radio.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Ron Keel is with us. The cameras are off, and you guys can't see what Ron and I are doing the break. It's pretty funny. Now, okay, it's a very fun conversation tonight. Ron, you having a good time?
I'm having a great time, Jimmy. Hope the listeners are as well.
Well, this is the point where I say I'm bringing on a special surprise guest. And Ron Keel, say hi to Kurt James. Kurt, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Hello, Kurt. Good to hear your voice, my friend.
It's been a long time.
Too long. I remember when you were coming through Sioux Falls, was it last year? And I was hoping to see you, and they changed venues, and I didn't make it. I'm sorry I didn't, but it's great to hear from you. I'm glad you could join us tonight.
Hey, thank you, man. Great hearing your voice as well.
Now, and getting the two of you together, this is pretty cool for me. But let me ask Kurt a question in front of Ron. Kurt, is Ron as cool as he thinks he is?
Well, yes. I believe everyone is cool these days. To survive this long, you have to be cool, man, or else you wouldn't make it.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And that's absolutely the point. Is that Ron? You two are more similar to me than the both of you know. Ron reached out to me. He's a fan of the show. Ron, check this out. A couple of years ago, I get this anonymous email out of the blue. And it's, hey, Jimmy, this is Kurt James. I'm the paranormal guitar player, and I just want to let you know I'm a fan of the show. And that was it. And he just signed Kurt James. and Kurt and I have been friends ever since. But what a talent with Kurt. What did you think about the first time you heard Kurt play? Do you remember that?
Yeah, he had a very special talent. He was one of the few people on the scene in the mid-'80s that could fill the shoes of guys like Yngwie Malmsteen and then Mitch Perry. Kurt took their place in my band Steeler, and he was the final guitar player. He was there at the final Steeler show that we ever did, 1984, March 2nd, 1984. I remember the date. And it was great to have him be a part of what we did back then, and I'm really proud of his success in the years since, going on to world tours and great sessions and albums and working with some of the best in the business.
One of the things that Kurt approached me about was UFOs and the paranormal and contact, and his interest in this subject, which led him to Fade to Black. And I've always found that interesting. And Kurt, before you answer that, Ron, have you ever seen a UFO?
I have seen things I can't explain, Jimmy. Spending a lot of nights out in the Arizona desert. I grew up a lot of time outdoors in the Arizona desert when I was a kid. That's where we saw a lot of things that we couldn't explain. And my father was a believer. And we were always looking. And what the truth is, if you say that it's unidentified, yes, we could not identify them, and I don't know who could. But where do they come from, and who are they? You know, I subscribe to a couple of different belief systems. You know, we've been fed so much disinformation the last 70 years that it's hard to sift through that to find the truth. I am a fan of this multidimensional theory and the fact that UFOs may be time travelers from the future. I know Michael Masters has been on some of these shows and doing some very compelling interviews with his book. Identified Flying Objects, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a brilliant theory, and it makes a lot of sense, crosses a lot of the boxes off that. Who are they and where are they from and what are they doing here? So I'm very compelled by that theory. I don't claim to have any answers, but I want to believe, I think we all want to believe that, that we're not alone. And there's been some very compelling evidence. However, I don't trust the mainstream media or even, it's hard to trust any media these days. I was in the media, Jimmy, as you mentioned. I was a DJ for a while working in mainstream radio, and I would be forced to say whatever the owner of the station wanted me to say. Whether it was a weather report or other news, I was told, here's what you're going to tell your audience or else. And it was not always the truth. Whether it was the weather or about the news, I would have to put a spin on it that favored the management and ownership of that radio station. Now, all of these talking heads that we're seeing and hearing, they're doing whatever their boss is telling them to say and do. And our shows like the Luis Elizondo television show, which I love and I'm enjoying it and it's very compelling. But is it disinformation or is he real? Is he on the level? I can't commit to that belief.
And Kurt, you came to Fade to Black because of UFOs and aliens and ET contact and your research into this. And I'll say this, Ron, Kurt knows as much about this subject as anybody that I know. He is fully engaged in the game. And Kurt, you live out in Lake Elsinore. Do you see stuff every single night out there? That's a UFO hotspot.
Yes, it's a hotspot. I would have to say I've seen my fair share of anomalies. But actually, where I did see the triangle, the giant, silent, hovering triangle, was actually in Costa Mesa, California.
And when was that?
That was about 20 years ago. I guess those guys have been out there for a while now, huh?
Yeah, they have. And now, Ron, did you know this about Kurt? Did you guys ever? Did you guys ever?
1983.
Yeah, you guys didn't talk UFOs. You didn't talk UFOs back in the day.
I don't recall doing any of those discussions. Did you have these views and thoughts back then, Kurt? I mean, I know I did. I know my dad and I went to see movies like Chariots of the Gods at the drive-in theater when I was just a kid. So this interest in the subject matter was a part of me very early on. But I think Kurt and I, when we were in our early 20s in Hollywood, we were pretty much focused on the music and making it.
Kurt, were you following the UFO subject back then?
Well, just like Ron said, the focus was on the music, but I'm sure if we went to that topic, we would have common ground for sure.
Yeah, Kurt, while you are here, Ron just mentioned, I think it's a very important subject with all of us right now, in that UFOs are being covered in the mainstream media, and I know that you're seeing the reports. What do you think is actually going on? Do you think we are moving towards disclosure and the media is helping us, or is it a situation where we shouldn't really be trusting what is going on there because there's a lot of disinformation on every level in the media?
Okay, I think this is directed at me. Is this correct?
Yes, it is, Kurt.
Okay, so you know just as much as I know, probably a lot more, because, you're spending your time. And I definitely, there's something going on, but then who's pulling the strings? That's what I want to know.
Do you think that there is something imminent? Kurt, this question is at you. Do you think that there's something imminent when it comes to UFOs that the government may know something about, and they are trying to get us acclimated to disclosure, and they know that something is about to happen, and the only way to do it is to manipulate us and get us ready, and that is what is going on?
You just kind of took the words right out of my mouth. Definitely we're getting conditioned with certain amount of information, but at the same time, they're cushioning the blow with whatever they're, giving on the other end of the spectrum. But, come on, if you look at history, there's just so much high-end technology evident like 3,000 years ago or more, there's definitely something has been going on for a long time.
Ron, I'm going to tell you a Kurt James story.
Okay,
I'm going to give you a Kurt James story. A couple of years ago, Kurt and I go to the NAMM show together, right? And we meet up, and we walk in, and there was a network there that interviewed me, and they followed Kurt and I around a little bit. We went to this booth that was a guitar company, and so we go in, and this is what happens. I'm just going to be straight. Kurt picks up this custom guitar. It's a Strat, custom Strat, and he plugs into this amp and starts ripping, right? Kurt James style. Right? And I'm standing next to him. We got cameras running, and the host of this show is there, and they're filming Kurt playing. I'm standing next to Kurt, and I'm watching him play, and all I could think about is, I don't like Kurt anymore. That's all I can think about. I just don't like this guy. Nobody should be able to play guitar this good. It should be illegal. It's not fair to the rest of us. And he's not sharing. I need some of those secrets. And I'm standing 2 feet from him. I'm watching him light up this fretboard. And Ron, I got to tell you, I don't think I spoke to Kurt for about 2 weeks after that.
Well, he is an amazing talent. You got that right. And a super nice guy as well. And he had that back in the day, Jimmy. He could turn heads and drop jaws when we went on stage at the Country Club and some of those other big Steeler gigs. In the final lineup of Steeler, I think was as good or better than any. There's 3 eras of Steeler. The original lineup that went to L.A., the classic lineup with Yngwie, and then the final lineup with Kurt James and Greg Chason, who went on to play in Badlands. And I'll put that final lineup against anything back in the day. Have you heard any of the Steeler recordings that Kurt James played on?
Yes, I've heard some of them. And I wanted to ask you, was Mark Edwards on drums in that final lineup?
He was not. That was Bobby Marks, who became the first drummer in Keel.
Yeah. Wow, that was a great lineup of Steeler.
Yep. It was an amazing lineup, but we had gone through so many personnel changes. It didn't matter how good Kurt and I and Greg and Bobby were. We were never going to get taken seriously by the industry because of the lineup changes that the band had endured. So it was best to just wipe the slate clean and start fresh, call it Keel. And then, of course, within the next 9 months, I was signed to a major label deal with Gene Simmons producing, and had 2 albums out and was on tour, and the dream was in full swing by then. But that last incarnation of Steeler was very strong, and I appreciate those experiences and those good times and that great music, and to get to reconnect with Kurt on your show tonight. Yeah,
pleasure's all mine. Hey, Kurt, before we say goodnight, what are you up to now? What's going on?
Well, I'm really getting my studio chops together. I got the HD Pro Tools thing, and I'm working on a lot of music there.
So you have you have the ability to now. Kurt's got this amazing amp collection and guitar collection, Ron, and he's out there and he's built a studio, which means, Kurt, you can just go pick an amp, grab a guitar, and get your thoughts now, and just write whenever you feel creative.
Exactly, and the amazing thing is at this location, I've got 24-hour ability to crank the Marty.
Yeah, you have no neighbors. Oh man.
Yeah,
hey,
it's great.
Hey, Kurt, thank you so much, my friend, for stopping by tonight and saying hello to Ron. It really means a lot to me.
Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks, Ron.
Hey, thank you, Kurt. Hey, get in touch with me. Shoot me a message. Send me some music. If you need a voice, I'm there for you.
Awesome. Will do.
You're the best. Thank you, Kurt. Kurt James. And, this is one of the things that, and you've been through this a lot, Ron. One of the things I said to Kurt, what's it like? There's got to be pressure if you're the cat that is coming in after a Steve Vai or after, playing with these singers that have played with Richie Blackmore, right? They played with Yngwie. That's a lot of pressure on a guy.
There's a certain amount of pressure that comes with our business naturally. Right. And I felt that when I had to replace Ian Gillan in Black Sabbath for a short time in 1984. Obviously, following Ronnie James Dio and Ian Gillan in that band, I never got to record or tour with them, but that pressure was certainly a tangible factor in my life at that time. But then again, there's a part of us that craves that pressure, and many of us work better under pressure. I think that you have to be somewhat fearless, and you have to really believe in yourself, and you want to rise to the challenge. I mean, I really do equate it to climbing mountains. How do you possibly get to the top of Everest, man? I mean, it's dangerous, it's deadly, it's uncomfortable, it's painful, but you really want to get there because you believe in yourself and you want to prove to yourself that you can. And that pressure is sometimes what makes us great and what keeps us going.
Now, I want to get back to what you had said earlier. When you drop the disclosure word like that, it seems by that kind of statement that you are on top of it. You are watching the reactions from the media as well as the status quo and the public when it comes to the UFO question. But for you, Ron, what is the definition of disclosure? When you just throw the word out there, what does it mean to you?
Definitive proof, and it doesn't have to come from the government or anybody else. When we have definitive proof and everybody agrees, and I think we've seen that this year, we can't agree on anything. We can't. There are two sides to every story in 2020, whether it's the civil unrest or the COVID-19 pandemic or anything else. How are you ever going to get everybody to believe in one thing? The same as Christianity or any other religion. Mm-hmm. You got people that believe a lot of different stuff. How is anybody ever going to have irrefutable proof so that everyone believes, okay, it's obvious this is real? And the disclosure discussion that you had with John Greenewald last week about the Black Vault and how the presidents come and go every 4 years. Mm-hmm. I thought you and John hit the nail right on the head during that interview. And I don't think anybody, and you guys are the experts, you guys are the rock stars in this field. I don't think the government's going to come out and say, hey, we've been lying to you for 70 years. Here's the real truth. It's right. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to have irrefutable proof.
What about irrefutable proof for you personally, as opposed to, videos or the president stepping up to a microphone? But if you had a sighting, right? I mean, you saw something that you can't explain, and it's not, it's not the Air Force. It's not.
How would I know? How would I know, Jimmy? How would I know?
But that's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. That it would be the point where you say to yourself, well, that's not from here. If you saw that, is that disclosure? Do you need the president at that point?
I don't think so, because I hear people on your show all the time with two different viewpoints saying, one will say that there's a secret space force that's been around for decades, and they've got technology that we are not even privy to in any way. And then how do we know that whatever we see in the sky could be our own or from a parallel dimension or from the future? I think it's going to take contact. I think that the real solution to disclosure is going to be actual contact, not with not with an amoeba that's stuck to the side of the space station, but with some type of intelligent communication or contact.
Like Independence Day, something cruising down Wilshire Boulevard.
Or maybe New Year's Eve. I mean, 2020 ain't over yet, dude.
Right. And this is, I've talked about this a lot, and I'm not going to relive the event here and now, but when I had the green chrome ball sighting, which you've heard, many times in the past, but when I had that sighting, and I have all these people around me, we watch this together and it takes off up into the atmosphere. One of the things that went through my mind is what you just said right here. And I'm thinking to myself, 29 Palms is right there, right? The biggest Marine air base in the United States. It's right there. And this is happening right here. Either 29 Palms knows what this is and they don't care, or it's 29 Palms, right? Maybe it is our technology, and that's just what's happening out here in the desert. That thought did cross my mind.
Yeah. Makes good sense. And I do believe, Jimmy, there is life, intelligence out there. But where is out there? Is it other planets? Is it other dimensions? Or is it the future?
Do you think that in the short time that we have left, and you're going to stay here for overtime, we're going to keep this going. But before the break, do you think that, you mentioned Chariots of the Gods, do you think that this contact has been going on for thousands of years?
I don't believe it 100%, but I can tell you, man, Ancient Aliens is one of my all-time favorite shows. I watch it religiously, no pun intended, and really enjoy the compelling theory and the subject matter. And that, like I said at the top, when we started talking about topics and subjects, our hidden history fascinates me because we just don't know. And part of me believes that there was alien intervention in our past. The other part of me believes that there were technological civilizations that existed 10,000 years ago, 20,000, 100,000 years ago that were wiped out by solar flares or other natural disasters, or wiped themselves out, and civilization and life have been reborn over and over again for perhaps millions of years throughout Earth's history. So the Olmecs, I mean, they had more knowledge of magnetism and how there's a lot out there that we have forgotten or that we never knew. And either we knew something in a bygone era that we've forgotten, or somebody intervened. Now, obviously, there was contact between continents because of the archaeology between the temples and the pyramids that appear all over our planet. They didn't happen by coincidence. There is a common archaeological root to those structures and megalithic buildings and things that I believe that there was contact between those continents. Was it alien? Was it high-tech humans?
A past civilization, right?
I would love to know. I would love to take a time machine back and find out with you.
Yeah, I know.
It's very compelling.
That's exactly right. And as we take our break here, that is easier for me to digest than what the skeptics or the historians come back with and just say, well, you know what? It's just part of evolution. Everybody thought of the same thing at the same time. It was inevitable. That is tough for me to digest, Ron.
I don't swallow that. No
Yeah,
way.
No, not at all. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Ron Keel is our guest. I'm not going to let him go. Special event. We're doing overtime. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us. More with Ron Keel after this short break.
To my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter. But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hello, my name is Billy Carson, and I am a best-selling author and the founder of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Together with my team, we have built an all-new conscious streaming TV platform designed with every family member in mind. If you have ever wanted to travel the world and attend lectures and workshops from your favorite speakers but weren't able to, look no further. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. There are dozens of workshops and lectures from speakers you know and love. We have also included amazing categories to assure that your consciousness is entertained and elevating on a daily basis. Amazing interviews, ancient history, ascension knowledge, wisdom teachings, documentaries, conspiracies, mysteries, health and fitness, conscious cooking, meditations, finance, yoga, and so much more. To start your free trial on any mobile device or computer, surf to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4, ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Again, visit ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What a great show tonight. Great conversation. Ron Keel is our guest. For the duration, we're going poll to poll tonight, so we are in the middle of overtime. And just to keep this going, Ron, I mentioned to everybody before the show tonight that I was going to ask you if you have any crystal skulls. Before you answer that, I want everybody to know I'm looking at Ron's bunker, and it is just like my bunker. You've got the guitars, you've got the nice mic, you've got a great setup there. That is just amazing to see, Ron. Seriously.
I call it the fan cave, Jimmy, and I could show you on this other wall here. These are all gifts that were given to me by fans. This is a performance area in my bunker where everything on the wall, whether it's some special artwork that was given to me by I got a great Bigfoot painting that was done by Claudio Bergaman, who does the Judas Priest album covers.
Yes.
And just gifts from fans, whether it's big time cats like Claudio or just it's decorated with gifts from fans. And I do have a skull. My skull is rock. All right. My skull is made of rock. It's not a crystal skull, but I'm showing you in the webcam right now. And I don't know what kind of rock it is, but it's a gift from a very special friend. I've been holding it, squeezing it in my palm tightly the entire interview, the entire discussion that we've been having tonight. So it's been with me the whole time. My wife is actually...
Hold it up to the camera again. Okay, pull it back just a little bit. Let me see it. That is really cool. Let me see the back. That looks like, okay, I'm going to tell you what that is.
Okay.
I think it's ruby. Do you see that patch of ruby on the bottom?
That red patch of ruby in the bottom. Yeah, it's like a red thing at the base of the skull.
I have.
It's really cool. Very special gift.
Yeah.
And my wife is actually the crystal keeper of the house. She is a collection of rocks and crystals that is always basking in the moonlight. We've got a big window in our main living room where the crystals will soak up the energy from outside, and she'll give me certain crystals, and I wish I could name them like she does, but she'll sense my emotions or my feelings, whether I'm down or whether I need to be grounded or whatever. She'll say, put this in your pocket today.
Yeah, right
on. I've got a special green crystal. It's absolutely beautiful with crystals exploding out of it. It's a green rock with crystals. I wish I knew exactly what it was called, but that's my music stone. It goes on the music stand whenever I'm cutting a vocal track and I'm singing to the stone, and it hopefully getting some energy and inspiration from that. So my wife is a firm believer in the crystal
lifestyle.
Lifestyle.
Sure.
But the powers of the crystals are certainly evident in the Keel house.
Now, I'm just going to let you know, Ron, you are officially the dude. I'm just watching Twitter here. I knew it. I didn't know about the crystal skull. I didn't know. I knew it was there. Have you ever seen a ghost?
I have not seen a ghost. And that term, just the term ghost, are we talking spirits, entities, energy, dead people? I mean, is that an umbrella term for what a ghost really is? Because I do believe in spirits. I feel their presence around me. I could tell you one story which made me a true believer, but ghosts.
Okay, what happened?
I have not seen an entity or something like that I can't explain except on TV.
Now, what made you a true believer?
This experience is something that I cannot explain, that is physically impossible, that was for me evidence that somebody was looking out for me. And I had property up in Nevada. This is, not far from Area 51, actually. We lived in Vegas, but we bought property halfway between Vegas and Reno. And we would go up there to the property and tow a trailer and camp out on our property, 10 acres up in the Sierra Nevada mountains, in absolutely beautiful country. And one night we did the drive from Vegas to the town, to the city limits, a little town called Dyer, Nevada, Fish Lake. I think there's 300 people there. And we stopped at the campground. I undid the trailer, and we took the truck for a little drive. And we got back to the camp. I'd had a few drinks. And the next morning, when we hooked up the trailer to go to our property, I did not put the pin in the trailer hitch. You know, the tongue fits into the trailer hitch on the truck. I did not put the pin in. I forgot to do that, which is that's
bad.
A serious.
That's a bad situation.
So it's 16 miles uphill, up a very bad 4-wheel drive road, and we finally get to the edge of our property, and the trailer falls off. And I go out and I look at it. The tongue of the trailer is buried in the ground, and there's no way that I made it up that mountain without that pin in that trailer hitch, Jimmy. Somebody was looking out for me. The spirits of my ancestors or somebody kept that trailer attached to that truck. Physically, I'm going uphill with a trailer there's no pin in that to me is physical evidence of something. And why did it wait until I just pulled onto my property and I'm finally where I belong? And then the trailer just comes off, like just slipped out of its sleeve. I truly believe that whether it's my parents, my parents who are passed away, or some other ancestor or some other spirit was looking out for me, because it could have been deadly. It could have been, or at the very least, I could have lost my trailer. But that to me was like, there's no way this happened. There's no explanation for it. And I know that story pales in comparison to many of your guests who have really true ghost stories to tell. But I do feel the presence all the time, and sometimes with sense, SCENTS, sense. I don't have any sense, but I do smell my father from time to time. Especially it smells like campfire. We used to camp a lot. We used to spend a lot of time out in the Arizona mountains looking at UFOs or looking for UFOs, as I told you. And you'll go to a spot in the house and you'll just smell campfire. I feel like I'm being watched over, or looked out for, or accompanied on this journey. I do not feel alone, and I can't explain it. I'm a simple man. I'm a rock and roll singer who's been on a mission for the last 40 years to entertain people. But I do believe that there's a lot more that I can't comprehend, understand, or explain. But I believe it's there.
Now, you mentioned the way that I think when it comes to ghosts. Is it a time traveler? Is it extra dimensional? Is it a dead person still hanging out in some weird dimension? Is it all of the above?
Yeah.
And if that is ever figured out, does that just open up the door to everything else? Does it answer the questions to so many things that we constantly ponder?
Well, there will always be questions, but that would solve a lot of problems, man. You know, I mean, as Ronald Reagan said, we would quickly come together if there was a force from another world that threatened us. And if we could have the answers to those questions that you are probing for on your show night after night, it would certainly solve a lot of our problems.
When we talk about ghosts today, and I love the ghost hunting shows and ghost adventures and things, I watch all of that stuff. But is it the same thing that, let's say, Moses was talking about in the Bible, or those in the past, historically speaking, documented situations where they spoke to angels? Well, are we talking about ghosts here? Are we talking about E.T.? Are we talking about time travelers? They may say angels, right? Because they don't have another term for it, and put a religious spin on it so they don't freak out the town or the community that they're in. But are generally speaking, are we just talking about the same thing?
I think it's probably all of the above. If
Right.
I had to choose a belief system, experience, maturity, knowledge, and the information that I've tried to absorb leads me to believe that it's not any one thing. They're not all ghosts, and they're not all from another dimension. They're not all from the future. It's probably a combination of a lot of these different factors that we'll never know or explain. But how much proof? I don't know. I guess if I actually saw something, I would believe. If the abduction phenomenon fascinates me because it is so well documented. And not getting back to UFOs, but this is documented proof that something has been going on with the abduction phenomenon for decades now, or perhaps centuries. But when will it become scientifically verifiable? And I guess that's the question that we're all hoping for or trying to answer. And sometimes you can become a believer by seeing something on some of these TV shows that you and I both watch, the paranormal shows and the ghost hunting shows, which we thoroughly enjoy. But I think it's not being skeptical. It's just being I've seen enough magic shows to know that my eyes and my brain can certainly be fooled. But I've seen enough and heard enough and felt enough to know that there are powers out there beyond the scope of my understanding. And have I ever seen a ghost? No. Have I ever experienced a paranormal experience that gave me undeniable proof of some of these phenomena? No, I haven't, but I do have an open mind, and I would love to have some of the same answers that we're all searching for.
Do you think that you are an example of the rest of the world, in that you don't necessarily have to have a UFO sighting or be abducted or see a ghost to wonder about these subjects. And when the reveal happens, do you freak out? Does the rest of the world lose their minds?
I don't think so. I think that we have been conditioned and prepared for it enough by popular culture the last half century or more to where if it did happen, I think that obviously it would be a game changer, no pun intended. But I certainly don't think that I'm typical of, I'm not like everyone else in the fact that I do have, some people will believe anything. Unfortunately, I've been fed so much disinformation that I'm not smart enough, or I don't have time enough to do the research to sort it out. Now, I will hear a theory such as the time traveler, UFOs from the future time traveler theory that I mentioned with Michael Masters in his book.
Mm-hmm.
That really makes a lot of sense to me. And whether I'm a believer or not, I believe that there is a distinct possibility. Now, I do have beliefs that maybe are left of center. The hollow earth.
Yes.
Now, I know we've discussed this on your program from time to time. I absolutely believe that the earth is hollow. Am I going to lose my fans over being a tinfoil hat guy? But that theory to me makes a lot of sense. Geologically and from the books that I've read even from the 60s when I was a kid, I had that book, The Hollow Earth. I actually absolutely believe that the earth is hollow, and maybe that makes me one of you. I'm
going to let everybody know. I can see Ron is smiling as he says this, and I get it, right? I totally get it. Do you feel that you're out of the closet? Like coming on this show tonight, do you feel freer?
I do. And I wish we had more time. We could talk about some other things that I believe. Really, I think it's up to everyone to make up their own belief system. It's very much like religion. And there are so many of them that they can't all be right and they can't all be wrong. But I think we have to keep looking for the answers. I think that the search and the journey is what's important. We'll never have all the answers, Jimmy. We'll never know what happened 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 years ago. Maybe not. Never say never. I learned that in my career and in my life. Never say never. We may. It's quite probable that in my lifetime I won't have those answers. But that search, that interest in these topics and subjects is fascinating. It's compelling, and it makes us more than just the guy next door, the guy that we all work hard for a living. We're all busy. We love our kids. We love our families, but there's something that makes us. It's that adventurous spirit that has caused mankind to survive and get to this point in human history that we're always looking for what's on the other side of that mystery or that mountain or the other side of that ocean or the other side of that dimension or whatever. And the journey and the questions to me are absolutely compelling and fascinating. And I enjoy that search with you and your listeners and other authorities that have a lot more knowledge and experience and research than I do. But I think it's fascinating. And I certainly would love to know how this happened or how that was built or where these people went or where they came from, or is there life out there and is there life after death? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm looking forward to finding out. Not that I want to die, but I'm not afraid of that. I welcome whatever the next step may be. If it's heaven, hell, or nothing, or something in between, I'm not sure, but I'll accept that challenge like I've accepted every other challenge along the way.
Well, I look at it like this. Göbekli Tepe wasn't supposed to exist. And I know you've heard me talk about this a lot, but it wasn't supposed to exist. And when it finally, that kind of definitive proof, something 7,000 years older than the Great Pyramids, wasn't supposed to exist, civilization couldn't, but it did. The man didn't come clean. Right? You know what I mean? What more can we ask for than something like Göbekli Tepe that would force history to be rewritten, to be covered in the news, the most amazing place in the world? Here it is, Göbekli Tepe. And that didn't change things.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I believe Robert Schoch's theory of the Sphinx being much older than it really is. I believe that's definitive proof. I think Schoch has proved his point. And that Sphinx is a lot older than they say it is or that they think it is. And they still will deny it because I don't know. I don't understand why. What's the problem rewriting history? We've been doing that forever. And science doesn't have all the answers. And everybody, this year is a big year for trust the science, trust the science. We keep hearing that on our mainstream media every day. Well, Galileo was a scientist who spent the last 10 years of his life under house arrest
until he died. Until he died.
He believed that the earth revolved around the sun. And he was under house arrest for the last 10 years of his life because he believed that. It turned out to be true, man. And so trust the science. Yeah, I bet they were telling him that too back in the day.
Yeah, and I mean, what's it going to take? Atlantis to like rise up out of the ocean? Would that be enough at this point after Göbekli Tepe?
That's a good start.
I'm not so sure that's good enough, Ron. I'm not so sure. And when I hear the stuff covered in mainstream media, I'm forced to do one thing. And look, I'm part of the mainstream media, and so are you. And I am part of it. I speak to a large audience. Sometimes I feel like I have too much influence, and I do have to throttle things back. I do. I understand the responsibility. But when I'm seeing the mainstream media today, whether it's economics or the pandemic or racism and riots and war and politics and everything that is on the table these days, when I hear the mainstream media talk about UFOs, suddenly I have to ask myself, why? What's really going? Why this change in attitude? I'm part of the mainstream media, and I don't trust them. Do you find yourself asking the same question?
Why would they all of a sudden declassify those videos of the Tic Tac UFOs? And you know, all these years later, there is a method to their madness, and whether it's the New World Order, which we've talked about, you know, on your show and all these types of platforms. The New World Order or the Cabal or all of these things that people believe that don't exist, or maybe they do. And there's a reason for it, or sometimes it's just a mistake. And I don't know why the mainstream media or the government acts or does the things that they do. And we don't have enough time to get back into that rabbit hole, and who's at the top of that food chain, whether it's George Soros or anybody else. But I don't know. And but I see evidence from time to time that makes me wonder who's really in charge.
Now, I want to thank you. We've got a little bit of time left. What a great conversation tonight, and I knew we would run out of time. I look forward to the. But what is going on now? Where can everybody go and listen to your radio program? What's the band doing? Are you in the middle of a new album? And he just tossed his skull. Everybody, I just watched him catch it.
Skull juggling.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool. So what's going on, and where can everybody go?
I have a one-stop shop, Jimmy. It's ronkeel.com. All of the links to all the social media, the YouTube channel, and everything can be found at ronkeel.com. I'm a firm believer in that traditional website. Of course, huge social media guy as well, very active on Facebook and Twitter. That's how you and I reconnected recently by following each other on Twitter. ronkeel.com. That's where you can find all of my music, all of my projects. I've maintained a very aggressive level of activity throughout my entire career. I've never stopped. I've never slowed down. I've got a new album out called South by South Dakota, which is a collection of Southern rock covers. I was able to squeeze in 24 shows this year, despite the pandemic. But also want to steer you to my wife's website, ReneeKeel.com. She has a book about her cancer experience, which really gave me the platform online, which I've been using the last several years. I think we just celebrated 2 years on Patreon. When she was diagnosed with cancer, I all of a sudden realized that is, not to overuse the word, but that's a game changer. That all of a sudden I'm not leaving. I'm not going on tour. I'm going to have to be here with her through chemo, radiation, 9 surgeries that she had. So I've got to find a way to entertain people online. So I joined the Patreon platform, and my site there is patreon.com/Ron Keel, where we offer exclusive audio, video. You can listen to my radio show on demand, my podcast, my audiobook, interactive experiences, live online chat, a lot of cool stuff. We've got contests going on. I'm really, really aggressive about my online activities on Patreon. It will never take the place of a sold-out arena. And we've been able to do, like I said, 24 shows this year. We headlined 5 gigs at the Sturgis Rally. I did my first tour of Australia right before the pandemic hit, man. We were there in March, and the news was just starting to get the COVID-19 chatter. And we made it back to the U.S. literally with a week to spare before the travel ban. So I was able to squeeze in the Australian tour, the Monsters of Rock cruise. I've got some big shows next year, and a live stream concert that we had in August that's going to be remixed, remastered, and relaunched this month on my Patreon site. So there's always a lot going on, a lot of news, and I encourage everybody to just check it out and, listen to some music. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook. I'm all at Ron Keel on all those platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Ron Keel. That's simple.
Thank you so much, Ron. What a great conversation tonight. And of course, I want to let everybody know Ron invited me. I'm forcing him to confirm onto his radio show. And this is the thing. Turning it around and seeing your host chops and hearing your host chops, I look forward to that, man.
I look forward to it as well, Jimmy, and let's set that up very soon. I know that we have a lot of common ground, both in our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, and our listeners.
Thank you so much, man. Ron Keel. All the best, my brother. What a great show tonight.
Live the rock!
Ron Keel. And we did literally just go poll to poll. I'm going to go straight into credits. Ron, you stay right there. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamurian. And you got to love it. The thing is this. When you go 92.5 hours on Fade to Black, you've got something to say. And what a great conversation tonight. Thank you so much, Ron. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamurian. Show's produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. You didn't know that, Ron, did you? That's Doug Aldrich playing guitar.
I did not. That's very cool. I thought it was you.
No, that's... Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2020 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, very special EVH broadcast. Until then, be safe. Ron, give him a Gobekli Tepe.
Gobekli Tepe.
That's what I'm talking about. Ron Keel. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll see everybody tomorrow night.